Chapter 662, Visiting the Sect of Dragon and Tiger. Not even 2 hours had passed since Jian Chen arrived at Changyang Manor with newbies before they left with a speed that was just as fast as when they came. They came quickly, they left quickly. Changyang Ba didn't even have a chance to see his own son. Finding the patriarch of the Bai family was far more important, there was no time to lose. Conflicted, Bai Yuntian stood at beyond the doors to her own room to watch Jian Chen disappear into the skies. Her heart found it very hard to remain calm at that moment since Jian Chen's abrupt news about the patriarch of the Bai family immediately broken the tranquility she was in. At the same time, she was extremely nervous on whether or not that person was really the same Bai Hai she knew to be the patriarch. Xiang'er. Xiang'er's back? Suddenly, a dignified but excited voice echoed through the halls as Changyang Ba came running into view. Right behind him were several of the higher-ranking members of the Changyang Manor, each one of them running excitedly with Changyang Ba towards Bai Yuntian's room. Striding to Bai Yuntian's side and looking left and right, Changyang Ba asked, "Yuner, Xiang'er has returned, hasn't he? Where is he then?" Taking in a deep breath to calm her nerves, Bai Yuntian couldn't help but smile to see the hurried expression on her husband's face. "Xiang'er has already left." "What? He left?" Changyang Ba didn't believe it for a moment. Smiling, he spoke, "Yuner, let's dispense with the jokes. Xiang'er only just came back, but it's been a long time since I last saw him. As a father, I wish to see my son." "It's true. Husband, Xiang'er has left. He has important matters to take care of and so he couldn't stay for long," Bai Yuntian replied. Bai Yuntian was never a person to make jokes, so Changyang Ba had no other choice but to believe that Jian Chen had really left. Sighing, he said, "A pity that I was late then. I hadn't the idea that Xiang'er would be in such a hurry to leave. It's rare that he comes back home already. It seems that our son is quite rushed if he has to leave home as quickly as he came then. Little Yun, I've heard that the fourth master has broken through to become a saint ruler. Would that tidbit of information be true?" An elder besides Changyang Ba suddenly, he was one of the doyen of the Changyang Manor. The fellow doyens of the clan immediately looked to Bai Yuntian expectantly. Each of their eyes glowed brightly as if waiting for her answer. The reason why all of the doyens gathered here today was to verify this highly important piece of information. Seeing the highly excited looks of anticipation on everyone's faces, Bai Yuntian couldn't help but have a proud smile on her own face. "I only just asked this of Xiang'er himself. Xiang'er is truly an amazing child. Not only does he not fear any saint ruler, he has the strength to fight one as well. Is that true? That's amazing. I never would have imagined that our Changyang Manor would be blessed with a saint ruler. Dear heavens. Saint rulers are rare even on the Tianyuan continent, and yet our Changyang Manor has one of them. This is great information. Our Changyang Manor has been blessed with an unprecedented genius. Just barely in his 20s and he has already become a saint ruler. From now on, our Changyang Manor will no longer be a small-time clan in this part of the kingdom. With a saint ruler, our Changyang Manor can set its eyes over the entire continent. We will be a face that everyone knows. Like how the boat rises with the tides, our Changyang Manor will rise too, ha ha ha." One by one, the doyens of the Changyang Manor began to laugh in excitement. Each one of them were hardly able to contain their joy, and their excitement were already far beyond what they would normally be willing to express. One day later, Jian Chen and newbies returned back to where the newbies clan was. After his return, Ming Dong and the others immediately gathered around him. "Brother, what in the world caused you to leave in such a hurry? You only left just 2 days ago, and based on the distance between the Jessen Kingdom and here, you couldn't possibly left in this place long enough." Ming Dong asked Jian Chen curiously for the details. "Brother, what in the world happened? Tell us it, hopefully we can all find a solution." Bai Lian asked in concern. Jian Chen, did something bad happen? Yu surmised with a dark expression. Revealing a light smile, Jian Chen replied, there's no need for everyone to guess the situation. I can't talk about it for now, but it isn't anything bad. Or rather, it's a rather good affair. Let us go our own ways for now. I've some things I wish to discuss with Senior Huang and Jie Tai. Afterwards, Jian Chen walked over to the garden where Huang Tianba and Jie Tai were currently engaged in a game of chess. Along with newbies, the four of them sat around a circular table where several maids brought out refreshments and drinks to adorn the table. Due to the fact that Nubi spent the majority of his life in Cross Mountains without leaving, the delicacies of mankind were an unknown to him. Unable to help himself, each part of the refreshments were gobbled up by him while commenting happily on the taste. After the maids had their fun bringing even more snacks to Nubis, Jian Chen spoke to them, "You may leave now." "Yes." The maids bowed before retreating away from the garden. "Brother Jian Chen, what business might you have for you to call on us?" After the maids left, Huang Tianba opened his mouth to speak. Jian Chen was quiet for a brief moment before replying, "I wish to find the blue-robed one named Bai Hai. The one that Situ Qing invited. Would either of you three know of a way to find him? That man's strength is as strong as mine. I've not enough strength to leave a mark on him." Jie Tai remarked. "My Solunar Bao was able to lock onto his aura so that he shouldn't have been able to run away, but there was some sort of mysterious escape technique he used to completely erase his aura. Even now I still can't find him." Huang Tianba spoke. Jian Chen looked to Nubis in hopes that this ancient beast would know of some particular method to find Bai Hai. Noticing his gaze, Nubis shrugged his shoulders, "I've never even fought with that human before, don't look to me for advice. I'd know not where he went, but if you wish to find that tattered robe old one, then I'd have a way. His entire body was infected with my poison, as long as he doesn't completely neutralize the poison, I'll be able to sense his position no matter where he is." Jian Chen's eyebrows flew up. "It seems that if we wish to find his position, we have to find out from the Saint Ruler from the sect of Dragon and Tiger himself. Brother Jian Chen, don't you have a grudge with them still? You may as well nip the problem now. With the power we have now, the sect of Dragon and Tiger has no way of threatening us anymore." Huang Tianba proposed. "That was my plan." Jian Chen nodded his head in some thought. "The Saint Ruler would do anything to kill me now and as soon as possible. If not for my fortitude, I really would have died at his hands. I can't return this favor with a lenient hand, I will make him fall with our visit. Jie Tai, stay here in the meanwhile. Nubis, Senior Huang, the three of us will hurry on towards their sect." Brother Jian Chen is surprisingly a decisively firm type of a person. I can respect that. Huang Tianba laughed before following Jian Chen out. Afterwards, Jian Chen bade farewell to Ming Dong and the others before leaving with Nubis and Huang Tianba off towards the sect of Dragon and Tiger. The sect of Dragon and Tiger wasn't too far away from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, and with Jian Chen's speed, they were easily able to reach the sect's resting grounds in no time at all. From far away, Jian Chen and them could see the people within the sect moving about. Floating in front of the sect, Jian Chen's eyes stare frostily at the buildings down below. "Saint Ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger, come out and die." Jian Chen's voice wasn't any louder than normal, but the entire world could still hear his echoing voice. Immediately, the sect of Dragon and Tiger was brought into chaos. A great deal of people began to pour out from the buildings to stare up at the three figures floating in midair. They felt uneasy since they didn't recognize the three figures, but knowing that they were blatantly undermining the sect's strength, the people knew that these three people would not be weak. Several figures flew out into the skies before quickly coming to a stop in front of Jian Chen and the other two. Each one of them stared at Jian Chen dangerously, and at the very front of this group was the sectmaster Chris. He recognized Jian Chen straight away with a crestfallen face. All semblance of color bled away from his face at once, leaving him with an extremely pale coloration as he shrieked, "Jian Chen, it's you." Chapter 663, Fall of a Saint Ruler. 1. Leveling a cold look at the horrified expression Chris had, Jian Chen revealed a callous grin. "Sectmaster Chris, so we meet again so soon." Chris had not even a little bit of color left in his face by now. All he could do was look behind at the dozen Heaven Saint Masters behind him with a look of utter despair. When they accompanied the Saint Ruler last time, Jian Chen had killed off several of their Heaven Saint Masters and drastically reduced the sect of Dragon and Tiger's strength. The Heaven Saint Masters with him here today were ones that recently broke through thanks to several millennia's worth of knowledge saved up by the sect of Dragon and Tiger. At mention of the name Jian Chen, the other Heaven Saint Masters all blanched. They didn't participate in the fight with Jian Chen last time, but the horrifying story about how Jian Chen killed several of them with a single palm was told to them. They knew that Jian Chen was young, but his strength was already passed into the Saint Ruler realm, a realm that was completely beyond what they could fight against. Jian Chen, just what are you planning to do? A slight stammer arose in Chris' voice when he looked behind at the other two figures with Jian Chen. He was nervous and completely intimidated by the enormous power the other side had. With the Heaven Saint Masters gathered here, their combined powers wouldn't even be enough to give the Saint Rulers as big as a problem of having food stuck between their teeth. Not only could these three kill them at a flick of the finger, there was no hope of escape for the Heaven Saint Masters. Jian Chen couldn't help but smile at the completely cowed figure that was Chris. "Sectmaster Chris, fear not, I didn't come today to make trouble with you Heaven Saint Masters. Hurry up and call out your Saint Ruler." His words caused the Heaven Saint Masters behind the Sectmaster to let out a long exhale in relief. The heart that was threatening to leap out from their throats finally resettled back into their chests. But the last few words spoken by Jian Chen was still enough to cause some pain for them. "Jian Chen, our previous sect master hasn't returned since the battle." Chris spoke beneath his breath, as if carefully observing Jian Chen's reaction in fear that Jian Chen might just kill him out of anger. Right now, his entire life was literally resting on the palm of Jian Chen's hand. "What, your Saint Ruler isn't here?" Jian Chen spoke with a heavy look. Chris' heart skipped a beat at the icy look in Jian Chen's face. Without delay, he quipped, "Ever since our escape, the previous sect master never returned back to the sect. None of us know where he is." Nubi's tongue flicked in and out from his lips before looking to Jian Chen. "They speak correctly. That man hasn't returned, there is no scent of his being in the air." Thinking for a brief moment, Jian Chen spoke, "It seems that we must go find him then, starting from the other two guests. Nubis, you must know where one of them went, please lead the way. The response is weakening, he must be in the process of detoxifying it. We need to hurry or else he'll completely detoxify himself, leaving us with no trace to follow." Nubis spoke. "Then there's no time to lose. We need to go at once." Jian Chen responded before flying away with Nubis and Huang Tianba. Watching the three men fly away, the men from the sect of Dragon and Tiger let out a sigh in relief. Their foreheads were all completely drenched with sweat due to their anxiety from this standoff. Although the three of them didn't feel as if they were Saint Rulers, the amount of pressure exuded onto them was still extremely massive and practically scared them out of their wits. "Sect Master, what should we do? Although they aren't after us, how do we make sure that they don't do so later? As Saint Rulers, they don't even need to bother fighting one of us. But below them is the rest of the Flame Mercenaries, do you think they'll send them after our sect to eliminate us? With our strength, we stand no chance of fighting them. If I knew that such a day would come, I'd never would have sought trouble with such an outstanding genius. We've brought trouble onto our heads." Quibbling amongst each other, the Heaven Saint Masters from the sect of Dragon and Tiger continued to speak about just how they gained a powerful enemy with furrowed eyebrows. "Sect Master, the flame mercenaries are far too close to us. If we stay here, we won't be safe. We should evacuate the sect at once. One of the elders spoke to Chris. Yes, sect master, we should hurry and evacuate right away. This way, we'll be safer than before. Another elder spoke out in agreement. Chris shook his head, however, with a sigh. A migration of the sect isn't as easy as you say it is. We don't have that many disciples, but there's still several thousand of them. There's no way we could move so many people without a trace, and neither can we disappear without a trace to begin with. The flame mercenaries have grown extremely strong and their names have spread throughout the area. Not a single person here doesn't know their name. If they wish to find us, then we'd have no way of escaping into any direction. Where would you even propose we run off to? There's nowhere to go, and nowhere to hide. Unless we give up on our disciples and escape by ourselves would we stand a chance, but I, Chris, will never do that. Then what should we do, sit here and wait for our deaths? Someone asked. Our personal relationship with Jian Chen isn't too far gone. The one that he has an unforgivable relationship with is the sect master himself. See how he didn't do a thing to us when he first came. I can guess that Jian Chen doesn't plan on killing us. There's time to turn this situation around. As long as we find a day to visit them to offer up our apologies, I believe could make this mountain into a molehill and eventually a gone deal. Chris replied. In a vast mountain range stood an ancient-looking manor. This manor was extremely quiet with nary a sound to be heard. No one could be seen either, making it seem like an abandoned manor if anything where no one lived. From the outside, the manor looked dilapidated, but the interior was utterly spotless. At this moment, a white-robed man was standing right next to the grim-looking Wuxia in the center of a room. Both of them looked worried and extremely uneasy. At this moment, the sounds of footsteps could be heard as another elder came walking into the room to sit by the elderly man. Wuxia, how goes detoxifying the poison? The second man asked the first. Wuxia nodded his head. The poison of a golden-striped silver snake is well deserving of its name if it can endanger the life of even a saint ruler. If not for the fact that I'm stronger than the snake, then this poison surely would have been a lot harder to detoxify. He sighed before looking back to the elder to condemn him. Situ Qing, I told you before to not meddle with the affairs of the people. And yet you still don't listen. Are you content now? A powerful foe has appeared, and he invited the Grand Elder of Mercenary City. How will you deal with this now? If not for the fact that the Grand Elder is loath to do anything to us, our group would have been unable to escape from that place alive. Situ Qing's face grew rigid. I didn't think that Jian Chen would have such a mountainous support behind him. He has not only the Grand Elder of Mercenary City as a patron, but an ancient beast of extremely strong strength. AI, killing him will be even harder now. Wuxia's eyes blinked. Situ Qing, the way I see it, you're asking for death. Even now, you still wish to kill Jian Chen. You should think about how to protect yourself. While you're safe here in the meanwhile, it won't be long till they find you. Sooner or later, they'll arrive here and drag even this manor into your troubles. I've been brought into your own troubles by helping you out. Wuxia, you're right. For the sake of not implicating the manor if they arrive here, I'll be on my way away from this place as soon as possible. Situ Qing stood up as if to prepare to leave. You cannot fight them by yourself. You may as well run as far away as you can. Wuxia offered up his suggestion. Just then, the expression on Wuxia's face changed. They've come already. Situ Qing, it's too late for you to even leave, it seems. Chapter 664, Fall of a Saint Ruler. 2. You cannot fight them by yourself. You may as well run as far away as you can. Wuxia spoke. But then as soon as he finished speaking, his expression changed shortly afterwards. They've come already. Situ Qing, it's too late for you to even leave, it seems. he said. Situching blanched. Have they already found us here? He whispered. Guqiu nodded his head solemnly. They're already outside. Impossible. This place is hidden extremely well and extremely far away. We left no traces when we escaped back then. How could they have found us? Situching was besides himself in panic. Jian Chen's sudden arrival was extremely unexpected to him. There's a total of 3 people there. That troublesome snake and the patriarch of the Huang family. With the 2 of us, that'll be a hard force to deal with. But this manor belongs to me, and if I interfere anymore, then this manor will possibly face extinction. The people behind this manor might be strong, but the people behind Jian Chen are equally strong, especially that Grand Elder. This is a predicament. Situching, please forgive me for being unable to help you. Guqiu sighed helplessly. It seems I can only try to run as far as I can. The difference between our strengths isn't too high. If I try running, I might just be able to make my escape. Situching muttered. Outside the manor, Jian Chen, Nubis, and Huang Tianba stood in the skies with an icy look down onto the quiet floor grounds. Despite not a single person in sight, the 3 of them knew that this manor wasn't completely abandoned. With their strength, they could naturally hear every single footstep within the quiet manor. In total, there were several hundred people, but these people were all hidden away in their rooms to cultivate and weren't moving at all from. I've lost sense of the old one. This means my poison has been fully detoxified by him. But judging from the last second, he is hidden away in this place. Nubis commented. Jian Chen's presence had also completely surrounded the manor, enabling him perfect vision of the entirety of the area. Sighing, he spoke, so there was a hidden school in this place. There's just about 500 men, but their combined strength is far beyond what the sect of Dragon and Tiger can boast. About half of their men are Earth Saint Masters at the very least, and they've several times more Heaven Saint Masters as well. What a unique school this is. Everyone is hidden away to practice their cultivation, making them genuine hermits that have detached themselves from the secular world. Becoming saint rulers would be no problem for such figures that stand aloof like this. Even these mere Earth Saint Masters would be capable of achieving such a height. What a remarkable place. Huang Tianba praised. Jian Chen nodded his head in agreement as well. This school was extremely different to all the other schools he had once seen. But he cleared out his throat to speak. Master of the manor to this place, please come on out for a chat. Jian Chen's voice had spread throughout the entire manor with such volume that even the hermits deep in a meditational trance were shaken awake. Immediately, all the doors in the manor flew open as men after men came filing out. One by one, they looked up at the 3 men in the air, but even Jian Chen's appearance had brokered no immediate change in their expression or even eye light. In an instant, the previously quiet manor was filled with clamor and men from every corner. 20-something Heaven Saint Masters dressed in plain clothing appeared in the skies to come to a stop on equal grounds with Jian Chen and the other 2. The leader of the group was an elderly figure with hair tied up behind his back. Cupping his hands, he spoke kindly. How may I address these 3 sires? This one is the housekeeper of the manor, Binghua. Pleased to make your acquaintance, you may step down. Just as Jian Chen was about to reply, an elderly voice suddenly spoke out from the manor. This voice wasn't as loud, but everyone could hear it nonetheless. Soon after, a single elderly figure in sackcloth clothing came forward into the skies. We pay our respects to the manor lord. As soon as this elder appeared, every single Heaven Saint Master in attendance immediately bowed to pay their respects. It's you. Jian Chen immediately smiled upon sight of this elder. Old one, our fight has yet to finish. We should continue it today and see just who the real winner once and for all. Nubis hissed, ready to fight at a moment's notice. The elder moved to the front of the group to look at the 3 men. Turning his head back, the elder spoke, Binghua, you may all leave and continue with your tasks. Yes, Manor Lord. The 20 Heaven Saint Masters all spoke out at once before disappearing back into the manor. Then, the elder turned back to Jian Chen. This one is the Lord of the Four Harmonies Manor, Wuxia. The affairs of last time has nothing to do with this manor. I hope that you three will not try to implicate them in it. If there's business, do it with me instead. You are a leader, and yet you didn't think of the consequences with making me your enemy. You've brought trouble onto my group, and now that you see that my side is stronger than yours, you still wish to retreat without losses? How easy do you take that to be? Jian Chen laughed. In the middle of this conversation, a single figure in white immediately flew out from the depths of the manor to leave as quickly and quietly as he could. In a flash, he disappeared into the forest without making a single sound. Noticing this, Wuxia gave a faint smile before addressing Jian Chen. Jian Chen, I know that you have mercenary cities standing behind you, and even the ancient families fear you. But my Four Harmonies Manor has patrons of its own. Might you have heard of the Pure Heart Pavilion before? Pure Heart Pavilion? Jian Chen asked in confusion. But then one of the memories in his head came rushing back to him. Back when he was searching for the Saint Ruler's cave, he came across a small village where a small school was. That school's name was the Pure Heart Pavilion. However, the headmaster of that pavilion was only just a Heaven Saint Master and wasn't too incredible looking. The name Pure Heart Pavilion led Nubis and Huang Tianba to both ponder for a moment. The Four Harmonies Manor was an extremely strong school on the continent, and there weren't many factions that could rival them in overall strength. At the very least, they could be considered an ancient family in status. Half a moment later, Huang Tianba seemed to have met a conclusion. His eyes light up from realization and grew wide as a result. Pure Heart Pavilion? He gasped. Could it be the very same Pure Heart Pavilion as one of the 10 Guardian clans? Correct, they are the one and the same. Wuxia confirmed. Your Four Harmonies Manor has connections with the Pure Heart Pavilion of the 10 Guardian clans? Huang Tianba repeated in utter astonishment. That is correct. Our Four Harmonies Manor are related to the Pure Heart Pavilion. And it is no ordinary relationship either. In all honesty, the Four Harmonies Manor can be considered an outer sect to the Pure Heart Pavilion. Its goal is to find cultivators from the outside that are compatible with being disciples for the Pure Heart Pavilion. Wuxia spoke. So I see. Then you are the Pure Heart Pavilion's outer sect. No wonder your students can all ignore the temptations of the secular world. Huang Tianba spoke with clarity. At the mention of the Guardian clans, Jian Chen's eyebrows furrowed together. Although he didn't understand much about them, he knew that a Guardian clan's strength surely must be enormous and therefore difficult to take on. You detestable human, you are men of the Guardian clans? Nubis hissed between his teeth. Although he wasn't afraid of anything in the world, the men of the Guardian clans were no pushovers. They could just as easily kill the entire Gilligan clan if push came to shove. Huang Tianba's expression darkened by several shades. Turning his head to Jian Chen, he whispered, Jian Chen, the Guardian clans of the continent all possess obscenely strong strength. They stand miles apart from even the ancient families and have ever since protected the Tian Yuan continent in the shadows. They aren't weaker than Mercenary City even. We should consider this a done deal. Offending the Guardian clans for such a small manor would give Senior Tian Jian no small amount of trouble himself. Having listened to Huang Tianba, Jian Chen sighed. He hadn't expected to hear that this elder was in fact affiliated with one of the Guardian clans. This meant he had no other choice but to give up on making him an enemy. After all, his current strength wasn't even enough to deal with an ancient family by himself, let alone the Guardian clans which were even stronger than the ancient families. Very well then. Wuxia, I'll let go of the unhappy business we once had with each other before. But on one condition, you must tell me where the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger is. Jian Chen spoke. Jian Chen. Situ Qing has long since left. He is no longer in this manner, and even I don't know where he has gone. Guqiu spoke. Is that right? Jian Chen asked before turning to Nubis. Focusing for a moment, Nubis sniffed at the air with his nose and flicked his tongue out to seemingly taste it. He has been found. He only just left, we can chase after him still. Straight away, he transformed into a beam of golden light and shot towards the direction where Situ Qing had left in. We'll be going too then. Jian Chen and Jie Tai immediately gave chase to follow Nubis. And in the blink of an eye, they were gone from sight. Guqiu stared off into the distance where Jian Chen and the others were flying towards with a small sigh. Situ Qing, it's not that I don't wish to help you, but that I'm unable to help you. Jian Chen has the Grand Elder of Mercenary City backing him up, and I can't invite the Pure Heart Pavilion to help out. This matter can only be resolved by me alone. In the case something happens, the Pure Heart Pavilion won't bother to help out this manner. Mercenary City is strong, and even the Guardian clans are unwilling to make trouble with them over such a trivial matter, let alone a just cause. The Pure Heart Pavilion has no interest in interfering at all, I'm afraid. Chapter 665, Fall of a Saint Ruler, 3. In a mountain range, the white-robed Situ Qing could be seen borrowing the cover of the forest to make a speedy but silent escape. Not a single sound could be heard from his movements, and even traces of his movements weren't seen. He was even afraid of using spatial force to aid his escape until he made it out of the Four Harmonies manor. The use of spatial force could be felt by a saint ruler, and that would immediately reveal his location. Since he was trying to hide his tracks, he couldn't travel as fast. So traveling 50 or so kilometers took a dozen times slower than usual. I've traveled a decent distance, should be able to use the spatial force now I suppose. I need to meet with Bai Hai, we won't be a match for the three of them, but at the very least we can secure a better chance of survival. Situ Qing thought to himself before a sudden feeling forced him to turn his head behind. They're almost here. Damn it, I've forgotten about that snake. Without any more hesitation, Situ Qing immediately made use of his spatial force to join with the world itself and fly off with incredible speed away from his pursuers in hopes of widening the distance. Since he was as good as exposed, there wasn't any further need to hide. In this case, the best thing to do was to move as fast as possible. Situ Qing's usage of the spatial force was ultimately detected by Huang Tianba, whose eyes immediately swung to look down at the concentrated patch of trees where Situ Qing was at. I've found him. He's using his spatial force 10 kilometers ahead of us. Out of the three of us, only you have enough understanding of the mysteries of space to catch up to him. Hurry up and chase after him, he has not my poison, and so I cannot detect him if he travels too far away. Nubis spoke. Worry not, he won't escape me. Huang Tianba laughed. A golden bow immediately appeared in his hand, it was the lunar bow. Pulling back on the drawstring of the bow, a golden arrow immediately materialized out of thin air. With a twang, the arrow was released with frightening speed toward Situ Qing. As it traveled through the skies, the arrow almost looked as if it was melting into the world. The abnormality of this arrow was that there was no ear-piercing whistling that usually accompanied the shooting of an arrow. It was as if the arrow was one with the world and could pierce through space itself to chase down Situ Qing. After he shot the arrow, Huang Tianba slowly put down his bow. This arrow has locked onto his aura. Even if he's a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler, he won't be able to escape it. This arrow can travel in between space itself. Ruler armaments left behind by a 9th heavenly layer are considerably strong if it can have such an effect like this. Nubis spoke out honestly. No sooner did Nubis finish speaking when just 30 kilometers away, the arrow Huang Tianba fired out made contact with Situ Qing. Senior Huang, Nubis, let's go, quickly now. We must not let him escape this time. Jian Chen spoke. Utilizing the spatial force, Huang Tianba and Nubis both immediately blended in with the world itself and borrowed its power to speed forward. In the blink of an eye, they flew far away from Jian Chen toward Situqing. Jian Chen himself began to use the illusionary flash to travel by himself since he had not yet understood the mysteries of space. When Jian Chen arrived, he could only see that the saint ruler from the sect of Dragon and Tiger was slammed against a broken cliffside with blood dripping down from his mouth. Right in front of him was Huang Tianba and Nubis standing in a way that would prevent Situqing from escaping. The power of a ruler armament was extremely strong, and the arrows shot forward from the lunar bow was strong enough to force even the fifth heavenly layer saint ruler by Hai to use up a considerable amount of energy even though he was stronger than Situqing. This arrow wasn't made with saint force either, it borrowed the strength of the world to add to its strength, and therefore was undeniably harder to block. Thus, even if Situqing was able to block it, he wouldn't come out unscathed. Jian Chen couldn't help but reveal a grand smile at the beaten figure of Situqing. Situqing, this time you've nowhere to escape. Situqing's face was especially dark. His eyes glared dangerously at Jian Chen with a snarl on his lips. Jian Chen, the only regret I have was that I didn't kill you before. If I did, then none of this would have happened. Wrong. You should regret ever offending me and choosing to be my enemy. Otherwise, you would still be the high and mighty saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger rather than being beaten into such a state. You've thrown your disciples away to the wolves to escape by yourself, how despicable. Jian Chen laughed in disdain at Situqing. A gleam of light appeared in Situqing's face as he sighed, you're right in that aspect. I should blame my greed. If I didn't grow curious about that strange power of yours, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. What a shame that it's too late to regret. By now, Jian Chen felt lazy to continue speaking. Forward, kill him at once. Upon finishing his command, Jian Chen immediately shot forward with Nubis and Huang Tianba to strike down Situqing. Since the three of them were surrounding him, not much time would be needed to kill the saint ruler. Situqing wasn't one to sit and wait for his death, however. Without reservation, he materialized his saint weapon into view to fight for his life. Swing after swing, he tried his best to fight off the three enemies in a furious display of might that shook the space around them. Huang Tianba put away his lunar bow in favor of bringing out his giant sword to fight Situqing. Each time he swung his giant sword, the powerful energy in the blade ripped at the space in the world. Nubis' hands had formed golden claws that swiped and danced in the air to surround Situqing with the swipes. In twos and threes, claw marks began to appear all over his body with dreadful-looking wounds. At the same time, Nubis' poison began to make its way into Situqing's body. Jian Chen had his chaotic force covering his entire body so as to increase his defenses to the maximum. As of now, his fist was several times harder than steel as it struck at Situqing's saint weapon. Despite his fist having a small split from where the saint weapon struck, the flesh quickly healed back up over itself as if it didn't happen to begin with. The battle between the four people was extremely intense. From the ground to the skies, they fought with explosive blow after blow. Even the ninth heavens would be able to hear this battle, and the power that came with the battle splashed over the entire area with such force that even the skies above began to change color from a lighter light to a darker shade. Down below, the mountains they were fighting over continued to crumble and collapse with countless of rubble avalanching downwards into the forests. Dust was kicked up into the air and completely buried the vegetations or else crushed them into pieces. The earth quaked. The mountains shook. In this one moment, the mountain range was experiencing an event that may as well be the same as the ending of the world. Situqing was inevitably facing impossible odds. After a dozen exchanges, his entire body was blood-soaked and countless of cuts and claw marks from what Huang Tianba and Nubis inflicted. Now that things had progressed to this, Situqing knew that there was no way he could escape with his life today. Determined, he cried out, "Jian Chen, even if this old man dies today, I'll see to it that you won't be let off so easily." No sooner did he finish speaking did the saint ruler fly up into the skies. Coincidentally, his aura began to spike almost exponentially. It was a sign that he was breaking through from the 4th heavenly layer to the 5th heavenly layer. With his aura filling up the world around him and almost solidifying in pressure, even Jian Chen felt this pressure as if he was thrown into a quagmire. As thus, his mobility felt extremely limited. Sensing the increase in the saint ruler's aura, Jian Chen thought to himself, did he break through? Careful, he's using up his own life force to temporarily increase his strength, he's on equal grounds with us now. Huang Tianba spoke grimly. With Situ Qing fighting with his life on the line, the him of now posed quite a threat to the three of them. Jian Chen, accompany this old man to the underworld. Completely ignoring Nubis and Huang Tianba, Situ Qing focused completely onto Jian Chen. His eyes were locked solely onto Jian Chen, and his saint weapon flew with amazing speed to strike at Jian Chen's head in an attempt to demolish Jian Chen's soul and kill him completely. As he attacked, the space around the two men solidified almost as if it froze over to lock Jian Chen's body into place. For the time being, Jian Chen would be unable to move from his spot, and for the first time since this battle begun, Jian Chen felt that he was at a very good odd of dying to this one strike. Chapter 666, Fall of a Saint Ruler, 4. Is this the power of a 5th heavenly layer saint ruler? It's far stronger than a 4th heavenly layer saint ruler. Jian Chen remarked to himself. Up against the 4th heavenly layer Situ Qing, Jian Chen wasn't at a good chance of winning, but he was at the very least assured that Situ Qing would be unable to pose a threat to him. But now that Situ Qing's strength broke through to the 5th heavenly layer, Jian Chen felt that he was up against a tremendous threat. This incoming strike would spell out a fatal blow to even him. Ra! Jian Chen howled. All of the chaotic force in his dantian immediately rushed out of it to reinforce his entire body so that he could break free from the solidified space around him. The solidified space around Jian Chen was assaulted by the surge of power coming from Jian Chen's body and shook violently. In no time at all, the solidified space around Jian Chen had returned back to its normal condition and gave Jian Chen back his mobility. As a result, Jian Chen was able to dodge so that Situ Qing's sword passed harmlessly overhead. Whoosh! At that moment, another golden arrow shot at the saint weapon poised for Jian Chen's forehead and knocked it aside. Simultaneously, a golden figure immediately sped in from the side and slammed against the saint weapon of Situ Qing so that it wouldn't be able to hit Jian Chen again. Being blocked by these two men were already within Situ Qing's considerations. His reaction to them were equally swift, and his right hand gave up the saint weapon in favor to strike at Jian Chen's chest with his fist. Bang! Following an explosive sound, the clothes on Jian Chen's chest exploded into powder and his chest into a mangled mess as if it were made of clay. Spiderweb-like fractures began to crawl up his skin. This would be the very first time Situ Qing's palm had enough energy to invade Jian Chen's body and disperse the chaotic force in it to destroy his internal organs. Even his heart had failed to escape injury and was torn apart. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Jian Chen's body fell from the skies and landed ruthlessly onto the ground below. His descent had been strong enough to smash into the ground and form a giant crater in the earth. Brother Jian Chen! Huang Tianba cried out in alarm. Stabbing out at Situ Qing with frightening speed, he successfully skewered Situ Qing's body and then followed it up with a powerful palm strike onto his back to send Situ Qing flying downwards before he could react. Situ Qing let out a mouthful of blood, his entire body came hurtling down to the ground at great speed. As it were, his life was already at an end, and using his own life force to temporarily boost his own strength left him with practically no life force left. Combined with the poison from Nubis invading his body and devouring his innards, he was already an arrow at the end of its trajectory, a candle with its wick almost burnt away. Boom! Another explosion. Situ Qing was sent tumbling 100 meters away from Jian Chen and slammed into the ground. The cliff in which he was smashed against was shattered into many different pieces. Flying down, Huang Tianba and Jian Chen descended from the skies to reach the edge of where Jian Chen was. "Brother Jian Chen, are you all right?" Huang Tianba asked in concern. Waving his hand, the energy of the world pulled Jian Chen up from the crater and gingerly laid him down onto the nearby patch of grass. Nubis stared carefully at the beaten body of Jian Chen as well. He was more than aware of just how powerful Situ Qing's palm strike was, and even if Jian Chen's body was perversely strong, it wasn't still at a comparable level with those of a saint ruler. Since Situ Qing was at the 5th heavenly layer, Jian Chen would be hard-pressed to accept it. Of the 9 heavenly layers that defined the saint ruler realm, each heavenly layer was extremely substantial in difference from one another. The 5th heavenly layer and 4th heavenly layer, for example, had a tremendous difference from one another. If a saint ruler of the 5th heavenly layer were to fight a 4th heavenly layer saint ruler, he'd be able to fight 2 of them to a standstill. Their comprehension of the mysteries of the world and mysteries of space was substantially lacking in contrast to the 5th heavenly layer saint ruler. Jian Chen was no saint ruler in this aspect, and he could only borrow on his powerful body to contest against a saint ruler. But in front of a 5th heavenly layer saint ruler, Jian Chen was powerless. Jian Chen's face was extremely pale from his spot on the grassy ground. Several mouthfuls of blood were coughed out, but he managed to look weakly at Huang Tianba and Nubis anyways. "I'm managing. At the very least, I am still alive." It was unexpected that his palm strike would be that strong. I was almost unable to bear the brunt of it. Seeing Jian Chen manage to respond, Nubis and Huang Tianba both felt their concerns ease up a bit. Giving a faint smile, Huang Tianba spoke, "Jian Chen, there is a huge difference in strength between a saint ruler of the 4th heavenly layer and the 5th heavenly layer. With your powerful body, you'd be able to make do against a 4th heavenly layer saint ruler, but a 5th heavenly layer saint ruler would make you look as if you had no defenses at all. But the fact that you were able to stay alive after receiving an all-out blow from a 5th heavenly layer saint ruler is a very proud achievement to have." Painfully, Jian Chen struggled to climb to his feet. "Has Situ Qing died?" "Of course not. Do you really think a saint ruler is that easy to kill? He's a very enduring person, and unless there's a great difference in strength, a saint ruler won't die so easily." Nubis spoke. "But that saint ruler has already been poisoned by my toxins. Combined with the fact that he used his own life force as fuel for his power, he's not too far away from death itself." News of that made Jian Chen immediately ignore his own injured state to try and drag himself to where the saint ruler was 100 meters away. He could see that Situ Qing's face was as pale as paper due to the lack of blood flowing in it. His eyes were closed and still from where he was, and his blood continued to pool underneath him in large amounts. Even the poison that had invaded his body started to appear in the blood around him. Now that he used up his life force, he looked even older than before. His previously grisly white hair was all gone from his head, and his skin was wrinkled all over the place with flab that covered his face. Seeing the appearance of Situ Qing, Jian Chen had felt rather conflicted about the situation. This man was a saint ruler, a high and mighty entity. But now he was reduced to such a miserable state like this. Taking in a deep breath, Jian Chen schooled the emotions in his mind and looked to the man. "I know you haven't died just yet. You must answer me. That man named by Hai from the other day, where is he now?" Slowly, Situ Qing opened his eyes to stare weakly at Jian Chen. With an equally weak voice, he spoke, "What vitality you have. To be alive still, from that. Answer my question." Jian Chen glared. A slight smile appeared on his face. "I'm already a dying person, give up on trying to learn something from me." A furious light entered Jian Chen's eyes. "That may be true, you're a dying person about to leave this world. But don't forget you still have thousands of disciples in your sect of Dragon and Tiger. Do you wish for their corpses to be buried with you into your next life? Some vigor re-entered Situ Qing's eyes at that. Glaring, he looked to Jian Chen, Jian Chen. You. What are you planning? Smiling victoriously, Jian Chen replied, seems like you still care somewhat for the sect of Dragon and Tiger. I, Jian Chen, promise you that if you tell me what I need to know about Bai Hai, then I'll spare the sect of Dragon and Tiger. If you don't, then I'll wipe them off the continent. Hesitation befell Situ Qing for a brief moment. Then finally, a look of resolution appeared on his face as he finally relented to Jian Chen for the sake of the sect of Dragon and Tiger. You win, Jian Chen. I'll tell you about Bai Hai. I hope that you'll keep to your word then. Chapter 667, A Mystery of the Past. Several 10,000 kilometers from here, there'll be a mountain range. Bai Hai will be in a cave recuperating from his wounds and cultivating. This map has a detailed note of his location. As long as you follow it, you'll find him. By now, Situ Qing's voice was extremely faint, but he managed to pull out a map from his space ring. Taking the map from Situ Qing, Jian Chen began to trace the details on it to arrive at Bai Hai's location. Situ Qing, you swear that Bai Hai is here? I hope that you won't be risking the lives of all your disciples on a small joke. Jian Chen warned. The friendship between Bai Hai and I aren't as deep as you think. I used him merely for protection, so rest assured. I've no reason to give you a false map. For the past dozen years, Bai Hai has been living in the same place. But after we split, our relationship with one another was split as well. Where he is now is unknown to me, that all depends on your luck. Situ Qing spoke. Putting down the map, Jian Chen spoke, very well then, I'll believe you in the meanwhile. If your information is true, then I'll forgive the sect of Dragon and Tiger. Is there anything else you wish to say? Situ Qing's face was already beyond pale by this point with all of his life force practically gone from his body. The doughty body of his was nearly shriveled away to being a skeleton with only a layer of skin covering the bones. Slowly, he closed his eyes. The life in them were already growing fainter and fainter, and he grew quiet. At last, he spoke, I should apologize to the sect of Dragon and Tiger for the troubles I've brought onto them. So many experts have lost their lives, and yet I've abandoned them to escape with my own life. I, Situ Qing, have no more face to show to the juniors of the sect. Jian Chen, I hope that you'll bury my body in the wildlands and let the beasts gnaw at my corpse. Only by this will my guilt be alleviated by some degree. And with that, Situ Qing died. His body grew icy cold from the loss of its spirit from its departure from the world. Standing above the corpse of Situ Qing, Jian Chen, Huang Tianba, and Nubis all looked at it with a conflicted expression. An existence as mighty as a saint ruler had died right in front of them. Some time passed on by before Jian Chen finally exhaled and waved his hand to take the space ring Situ Qing had. Then with another wave, the earth next to him was immediately dug out for a 10-meter-wide crater. Using the power of his mind, he slowly lowered the corpse of the saint ruler into it and buried him. Situ Qing's last words may have been to have Jian Chen leave his corpse for the beasts to devour on, but Jian Chen had no intention on doing so. He was a saint ruler after all, and even if he was dead, it was by no means proper to treat his corpse like that. Brother Jian Chen, now that we've killed Situ Qing, what shall our next step be? Shall we continue to enact vengeance on Bai Hai? Huang Tianba asked from behind. We continue on to find Bai Hai. Jian Chen didn't hesitate to reply. From there, the three of them decided to rest for half the day in that place before leaving. In that time span, Jian Chen's wounds were completely healed, allowing Jian Chen to travel freely with Huang Tianba and Nubis to fly onwards. Jian Chen, how did you manage to get a hold of such a perversely strong body like this? Your wounds are worse than mine, and yet your recovery rate would leave anyone speechless. No matter what the wound, only half a day is required for them to heal up over itself. This one cannot understand you at all. Nubis eyed Jian Chen with some shock and jealousy. Indeed, brother Jian Chen. Your body is indeed strange if it can take a blow from a fifth heavenly layer saint ruler. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought that you were a magical beast. Huang Tianba remarked. According to the knowledge of the great Nubis, there is no magical beast that would have as strong of a physique as Jian Chen before they reached the 7th class. We magical beasts have stronger bodies than humans, but to have something like this, the 8th class would be required. Nubis paused briefly at this point. Once some time ago, I had suspicion you were the war god Ergens of the Bai clans. But your personality is not at all like what he was like, making you very unlikely to be him. War god Ergens of the Bai clan. Huang Tianba exclaimed as soon as he heard the name. I've heard of him before. According to the legends, Ergens was the strongest person in the Bai clan, and he was seen as a god in even his own clan. He was respected by countless of people and his strength was terrifying. He became a saint emperor at one point in his life. Nubis couldn't help but hiss deprecatingly at that. Using a mere saint emperor to describe the war god Ergens would be belittling an existence as great as him. Thinking back the memories of the past, Nubis began to retell pieces of the past with great clarity. Your knowledge of the past is lacking. Allow this one to regale the story then. Nubis spoke after tidying up his thoughts. In that time, his strength was extremely strong. He stood at the top alongside with the other 3 strongest of their respective races. These 4 came to be known as Mo Tianyun of humanity, the winged tiger god of the beast clans, the sea god of the deep waters and the war god Ergens of the ancient Bai clan. The strength of these 4 were far beyond what anyone could possibly imagine. They were beings that long since transcended what a saint emperor could do, and as the strongest 4 in the world, they were people of the utmost glory. Living gods walking amongst mortals. What transcended even a saint emperor? Jian Chen and Huang Tianba remarked in shock at the same time. This was far too shocking to hear, even if it was about humanity's strongest, Mo Tianyun and the winged tiger god of the beast clans. From what Nubis said, they were stronger than even what a saint emperor were said to be. Aside from the 3 named figures, the one that left Jian Chen completely confused was about the sea god. He had never heard of something like that, and it left him undeniably shocked. Of course. That era of time had no end of strong individuals, but the individuals that shined the most were Mo Tianyun and the winged tiger god. The winged tiger god once led us to fight the Bai clan, only for them to send out the war god Ergens himself to fight. The Bai clan was later repelled from the Xiaofan continent, but they were then led to the Tian Yuan continent afterwards. Originally, the war god Ergens led a group of the strongest individuals from the Bai clan to attack and drive humanity out of the continent. But it was then that Mo Tianyun appeared. His strength was astounding to say the least. He was no weaker than our winged tiger god. By himself, he managed to drive back the Bai clan. Even Ergens suffered defeat at Mo Tianyun's hand. The Bai clan and humanity fought for 100 years in countless of wars and suffered countless of casualties from both sides. Ultimately, Ergens decided the war for the Tian Yuan continent to be not worth continuing and gave it up to focus on attacking the Xiaofan continent in hopes of recapturing their original lands. This time, the battle between the Bai clan and the beast clans persisted for 30 more years. Countless of losses incurred from the beast clans, but ultimately the winged tiger god could bear no more and finally managed to kill Ergens. With Ergens gone, the Bai clan lost the power to fight against both the beast clans and humanity. They gave up their original lands and continued the search for a new home in a vile and poor continent. From then, they have spent their time recuperating and waiting. But they've never stepped foot on either the Tian Yuan continent or the Xiaofan continent since then. Jian Chen and Huang Tianba both found it very hard to remain calm having listened to Nubi's story. It was a great amount to take in, and they found it to be extremely hard to do so. The mysteries of the past that Nubis was speaking of was very rarely heard of to the humans. But what really made them stunned beyond belief was of the existence that transcended the Saint Emperor realm, war god Ergens of the Bai clan. And yet, someone as strong as he died at the hands of the winged tiger god. There was still the unnamed sea god from the sea abyss. Even he was a being that surpassed that of a saint emperor. It took some time before the two men regained their bearings. Jian Chen was the first to speak. What about the sea abyss? Why have I never heard of that before? Nubis thought for a moment how to explain things. Allow this one to explain it to you. In this world, there are 4 races. Humanity, the magical beasts, the Bai, and those of the sea. Could the sea abyss be all one single race then? Jian Chen asked in confusion. Correct. And they are not weak by any means. The entirety of the sea abyss is one single powerful race that lay claim to everything in the sea. Because of how the sea suits their existence, they've never ventured beyond the shores since the last 100,000 years. That is why the existence of the beings of the sea are a mystery to humanity. They are powerful. Far more powerful than the Bai clan and humanity. Nubis spoke. So there was even beings of the sea that we didn't know about. If not for you mentioning them today, I never would have known about their existence in this world. Huang Tianba remarked in surprise. The things he learned today was astonishing to say the last. It was like discovering a whole new continent itself. On your Tianyuan continent, there aren't many clans that know of the beings of the sea. Only the most ancient families would have some records of the beings down below. But their knowledge isn't as comprehensive as mine, as the silver-striped golden snakes were responsible for passing down this knowledge. This history is forever growing, and it will never weaken with the passage of time. Nubis spoke with pride. Chapter 668, Patriarch of the Bai clan. I've never gone beneath the sea, but the memories I inherited has given me a deep understanding on some aspects. They are beings that have evolved to become highly intelligent, similar to the magical beasts of land. They are an extremely powerful race, and they are the only one of the 4 races to never take advantage of the other 3 races in any conflict. They are well suited for life underwater and not on land. Thus, when the battle for land started, the clans of the sea never participated, thus making it even harder for people to learn of their existence. How many champions do the clans of the sea have? Jian Chen asked. They're rather comparable in numbers compared to humanity. In terms of comprehensive strength, they could easily stand against humanity. Naturally, this is knowledge from long ago. I've no information on the current situation of the sea clans. And I've little idea if they've become even stronger than humanity. In that war long ago, humanity lost far too many champions while the beings of the sea managed to maintain that golden age of theirs. AI. Nubis sighed. According the knowledge I inherited, Mo Tianyun, the winged tiger god, and Ergens once fought each other in a very intense battle. Their strength surpassed that of a saint emperor, and it nearly brought the world to ruin. Even the laws of the world were bent at their whims, and the energy of the world suffered catastrophic damages. This led to the champions of humanity thinning out and becoming rarer as a result, and made understanding the mysteries of the world even harder, meaning even less saint rulers were to be had. Compared to before, breaking through now is far harder. Even the most promising of genius have difficulty crossing this boundary, and the realms after that only gets harder, making it require far more time to cultivate strength. Jian Chen and Huang Tianba were already slack-jawed from all the information they were hearing. Everything that Nubis was telling them was on par with the Arabian Nights itself in information. Even though they had never heard of it before, they believed in it completely. But Nubis decided that this part here would be the stopping point. Waving his hand, he spoke, I shall say no more. Knowing about this has no good benefits. Let us focus on the task at hand. Afterwards, Jian Chen and Huang Tianba continued on their journey with plenty of information to digest and think about. After half a day's worth of travel, they finally managed to arrive at the place where Bai Hai was said to be. Upon arrival, Jian Chen felt a rather sudden sense of anxiety. It was unknown whether Bai Hai was still here or not. If he wasn't, finding a saint ruler that wanted to hide himself would be extremely difficult, especially on a continent as large as the Tianyuan continent. The three came to a stop in midair so that Jian Chen could survey the thickets and trees down below. Senior Huang, the great newbies, you two stay here. I'll go take a look myself. Huang Tianba gave a deep look at Jian Chen. From what emotions Jian Chen had going on, Huang Tianba could tell that there was some sort of secret between Jian Chen and Bai Hai, so he nodded his head. Very well. Brother Jian Chen, be careful. If he fights you, you must call out at once. Jian Chen nodded his head and then left the two saint rulers in the air to fly down by himself. With his speed, it only took several moments for Jian Chen to traverse the remaining several kilometers to arrive at a hidden cave. It was so dark that practically nothing could be seen from the outside. But Jian Chen knew that this seemingly ordinary cave housed a saint ruler inside. The further he walked into the cave, the more conflicted Jian Chen felt. All of the worries he had in his mind began to compile, and he grew afraid that Bai Hai wasn't the person he was looking for. The world had many coincidental events after all. Jian Chen's eyes concentrated on the ground 10 meters ahead of him. Letting out a sigh, he tried to calm his nerves and make his way further into the cave. Not long after Jian Chen made a few steps into the cave, a series of footsteps could be heard from the other side. The footsteps drew closer and closer as a blue-robed elder came walking out from the darkness with his hands behind his back. It was Bai Hai. Jian Chen's footsteps came to a stop as he looked to the elder. The conflicting emotions in his mind refused to show on his face however, but beneath his steel demeanor was a heart that refused to slow down in tempo. Bai Hai was without a doubt here. Emotionless, Bai Hai looked to Jian Chen with eyes that felt as if they could bore holes in Jian Chen. So you've managed to find your way here. Situ Qing told you of my location, I see. If I had known, I'd have changed my location earlier. I shouldn't have stayed here after all. His eyes flickered to the space above where Huang Tianba and newbies were. They didn't bother hiding their aura, so Bai Hai was easily able to detect their presence. Jian Chen. Even if I cannot fight the three of you, I can still run, even if you try to use a ruler armament. Are you willing to find out? Bai Hai spoke without at all giving Jian Chen time to respond. Knowing that Bai Hai was misunderstanding the situation, Jian Chen hastened to rectify it. Senior, please don't misunderstand. This junior came here today on matters unrelated to the battle a few days before. A flash of light gleamed across Bai Hai's eyes, but he continued to look at Jian Chen with that same emotionless look. Then why have you come? Thinking for a moment to clear his mind and thoughts, Jian Chen spoke. Senior, this junior came here today for you. For me? Confusion flashed across Bai Hai's face. Indeed. Jian Chen nodded. Senior, this junior has several items with me. Please take a good look. Jian Chen took out a thin manual from his space ring and let it hover over to Bai Hai by the use of his mind power. Taking the manual, Bai Hai began to flip through it. No sooner did he flip open to the first page did his expression change drastically. Shocked, his eyes flew to look at Jian Chen. He said nothing however and continued to read the manual. Soon enough, the manual was completely thumbed through by Bai Hai, but the emotions that ran through Bai Hai's face became even more shocked with each page. Even his hands which were holding the manual was starting to tremble from his emotions. In no time at all, Bai Hai closed the manual shut to give Jian Chen a terrifying glare. Where did you come across this battle skill? In this current moment, Bai Hai was hit with a tidal wave of emotions. For, in this manual given to him by Jian Chen, it contained the battle skills of the Bai family, the very same ones he invented long ago, the miracle water of Bai. Seeing the drastic change that overcame Bai Hai's face, Jian Chen was assured that he had found the right person. 30 years ago in Minghua City, one of the cities belonging to the Karl Empire of the three great empires, there was once a great family called the Bai family. Would Senior happen to know of this family? Boom! Unable to preserve his calm composure, a tremendous aura exploded forth from Bai Hai's body and solidified the area around him so that Jian Chen felt himself unable to move a hand or foot in any direction. Immediately, Bai Hai appeared right in front of Jian Chen with terrifying power. "Who are you?" he barked. "How did you come across the miracle water of Bai? Are you related to the massacre of my Bai family 30 years ago?" Whoosh! Appearing out of nowhere, a golden arrow made itself known as it flew towards Bai Hai with an ear-piercing sound. The golden arrow was locked onto Bai Hai's aura, meaning that Bai Hai would have no way of dodging it. A frosty light appeared in Bai Hai's eyes as he grabbed onto Jian Chen and moved him to the front to use him as a shield against the arrow fired from a ruler armament. But the result was not what Bai Hai was expecting, as the golden arrow suddenly rerouted itself besides Jian Chen to strike at Bai Hai from another direction. Snorting, Bai Hai tossed Jian Chen to the side and took out his saint weapon to knock the golden arrow to the side. As the golden arrow made contact with Bai Hai's saint weapon, an ear-deafening explosion rang out in the area. The energy backlash flooded the area and distorted the space itself to an extent where several pitch-dark cracks began to manifest before disappearing just as quickly as it appeared. The mountain Bai Hai and Jian Chen were standing on began to quake before ultimately collapsing on itself, leaving both persons to fly into the skies. At the same time, Huang Tianba came into view with the Solunar Bow in hand and the golden-robed nubis by his side just 20 meters away. Both of them were glaring heavily at Bai Hai, and their auras were beginning to grow in amount to try and lock Bai Hai into place. "Senior Huang, nubis, stay your hand," Jian Chen commanded at the two to try and de-escalate the situation. Obeying Jian Chen, the two of them slowly withdrew their auras, but they remained where they stood without saying a word. Bai Hai's eyes looked to the two men behind Jian Chen with the utmost of concentration. He was equal in strength to one of them, but he had no ruler armament. The other one was an ancient silver-striped golden snake, a magical beast of antiquity that boasted tremendous battle strength. It could fight a sixth heavenly layer saint ruler, making it an enemy to not fight if possible. Both men brought him a considerable amount of pressure, and if the two of them were to truly fight him, Bai Hai's only option was to try to escape. Glaring at the two for a moment, Bai Hai turned his eyes back to Jian Chen. "Who are you?" "Out with it," he growled. By now, Jian Chen was completely sure that Bai Hai was who he thought he was. "Senior," he started with a quaking voice. "May you be the patriarch of the Bai family?" "Indeed. The Bai family of the Minghua city of the Karl Empire. That is the family this one founded," Bai Hai stated emotionlessly. Straight away, Jian Chen's body fell to his knees in midair to kneel and speak. This junior of the Bai family pays his respects to the patriarch. Chapter 669, Return of the Ancestor, 1. As he knelt down to his knees, Jian Chen's heart was practically threatening to leap out of his chest. At last, he had found the long-lost patriarch to the Bai family. As one with the blood of Bai through his veins, this was a monumental occasion with great implications. Bai Hai was appalled. These words spoken to him by Jian Chen had left him speechless and his actions had left him wide-eyed. For the longest of times, Bai Hai stared at Jian Chen with an askew glance, but not a single word was said. On the other side, Huang Tianba and nubis were both equally stunned. Just like Bai Hai, they could only really stare at the still kneeling Jian Chen while being as still as statues. Although Huang Tianba guessed that there was some sort of secret between Bai Hai and Jian Chen, he wasn't able to tell what type of relationship there was exactly. Thus, he was just as surprised as the others were. What in the world is going on? Has Jian Chen gone loose in the head? Nubis was the first to finally speak. His eyes were wide-eyed from shock and his jaws were dropped open in surprise. Huang Tianba was still speechless due to his own shock. Never did he imagine that the enemy he fought some time ago would be the ancestor to Jian Chen. For a good while, Bai Hai didn't speak. His expression was filled with shock as he looked to Jian Chen, but at last he spoke. "Yo you, what did you say?" he asked, unsure whether or not his hearing was still working. "Patriarch, my mother was from the Bai family, and by extension, I am of the family line with the blood of Bai in my veins." Jian Chen replied. "What? You're a member of the Bai family?" A quivering finger of Bai Hai pointed at Jian Chen in disbelief. Since when did the Bai family have a saint ruler? He had never seen or heard of such a person before. Surely a person like Jian Chen would leave an impression on Bai Hai. "Yes, Patriarch. This one is of the Bai family." Jian Chen replied. "Impossible. This is impossible. If you're one of my own, how have I never heard of you before?" In this current moment, Bai Hai was filled with emotion. The Bai family was long since a source of heartache for him. He spent so many years to build the family up into what it was, and then it was destroyed all in one night. There was no way he wouldn't feel hurt by it. He originally thought that no one survived the massacre of his family. So when he heard that there was somehow one survivor to his family, and a saint ruler no less, this to him was a tremendous shock and also a great upset. A thought struck Bai Hai, causing him to stare dangerously at Jian Chen. "Tell me who your parents were, and what name you used to be called by." "Patriarch, my mother is named Bai Yuntian. 30 years ago, she was the daughter to the acting head of the Bai family. As for me, my name is unfortunately one you will not have heard of before. When the massacre happened, I wasn't born yet." Jian Chen replied. "What, you weren't born 30 years ago?" Bai Hai stared at Jian Chen in disbelief. Disbelief wouldn't even be the right word to describe his face actually. This was the most shocking news he had ever heard of in his life in fact. Not even 30 years old and he was already a saint ruler. If the Tianyuan continent were to hear about this, every single inhabitant would definitely be stunned. Blast, what a monster. He's even younger than what I, the great Nubis, imagined. His potential is even better than the war god Ergens. Is it possible that he is the reincarnation of Mo Tianyun? Aside from him, what other human would be as capable? It is no wonder the winged tiger god has reappeared in the world. I was worried that the winged tiger god would grow up to become a being that'd break the tranquility between the Shoshan continent and the Tianyuan continent, but it seems my concerns were unfounded. Nubi sighed. You really are one of my descendants?" Bai Hai asked to verify. Since this piece of information was far too amazing to believe, his heart found it hard to do so. "Patriarch, if you don't believe me, please follow me back to my Chongyang manor to see my mother. My mother will show you proof." Jian Chen spoke. "How wonderful. So there are still descendants remaining still. Come now then, we'll go see your mother at once." Bai Hai was completely besides himself with excitement now. "Patriarch, I'll take you to my Chongyang manor. If my mother knows that the patriarch still lives, she'll definitely be overjoyed." Jian Chen stood back up on his feet. Joy was evident in his own voice as well. Soon afterwards, Jian Chen ordered Nubis and Huang Tianba to return to the Flame Mercenaries while he and Bai Hai returned to the Jessen Kingdom. As soon as the two left, Huang Tianba and Nubis were left to stand in the middle of the skies. Still slightly sluggish from their shock, the two of them could only look off into the direction where Jian Chen and Bai Hai left towards. For a while, neither of the two spoke. Ai, how unexpected that this would be the outcome. Bai Hai was the patriarch of Jian Chen? It's really a freakish outcome. After an extended period of silence, Huang Tianba finally let out a sigh. The first time we met, we were enemies with him. Jian Chen was even injured by this man before. I, the great newbies, had never thought that there would be such a secret between the two. You humans have many strange monstrosities on this world. Newbies exclaimed. Jian Chen's status isn't just limited to being the fourth master of the Changyang Manor, it seems, if he's also a descendant of the Bai. I've never heard of them before due to the distance between us, but they must be a strong one. Huang Tianba spoke. From what the two were saying, I, the great newbies, could hear that the Bai family was massacred. Forget it, we should head back ourselves. Afterwards, Huang Tianba and newbies both returned back to Mercenary City. Both Jian Chen and Huang Tianba were flying towards Changyang Manor with as much speed as they could muster. Perhaps it was because of the fact that he knew that there were still descendants of the Bai family that Bai Hai was excited, but his speed was extremely fast. It surpassed what Jian Chen was capable of even if he was forced to use the illusionary flash to travel as fast as he could. Allow me to carry you there, you just need to point the direction. Bai Hai spoke as he and Jian Chen traveled with the powers of space. Bai Hai himself was extremely anxious to reach the Changyang Manor. Suddenly, Jian Chen felt the world ahead of him start to distort and grow hazy as the scenery around him blended into chaos. Just barely, Jian Chen could make out the hazy blurs that were the mountains and rivers, but even those faded away from sight almost instantly. Even the bustling cities and verdant skies and clouds would change and blur away from vision as fast as they appeared. They weren't illusions, it was only because of the fact that they were traveling far too fast to properly register as a definite image on their eyes. The speed in which they were traveling at was simply far too fast. This has to be the speed from when spatial force is used. How fast it is. This is many times faster than flying through the air. If I had this type of speed, then how long would it take to reach the Qinhuang kingdom? Jian Chen thought to himself. He was envious of such a speed. If he commandeered it, then he could travel home whenever he wished. This time, it only took a short 4 hours to travel several 100,000 kilometers back to the Jessen kingdom and into Changyang Manor. Masking his aura, Jian Chen only allowed for Chang Wuji, Qing Wuming and the other two Heaven Saint Masters to detect his arrival so that the four of them would come to greet him. Fourth Master, you've returned so soon. Your departure several days ago was so sudden, the Lord himself felt regretful that you couldn't stay for a moment longer. Chang Wuji smiled at both Jian Chen and then at the old figure behind him with an equally welcoming smile. Chang Wuji, I've something very important to attend to. We can talk later, but first, I must see Mother. Jian Chen spoke briefly to him before walking with Bai Hai towards the flower garden where his mother was. Because of his presence around the manor, he could sense that his mother was currently talking with his other aunts. After the reconstruction of Changyang Manor, even the flower garden was expanded to 3 times its original size. At this very moment, Bai Yuntian and the other 3 aunts of Jian Chen were gathered around a pond of water to chat. Third sister, the past is the past. Don't be so worried, Xiang'er is an obedient child and not a vengeful one. When Xiang'er comes back, we can have another talk where you two can talk it out. The second aunt, Yu Fengyan, spoke. Second sister is correct, us 4 sisters have lived together for over 20 years already. We shouldn't squabble over such trivial matters like this. Third sister, when Xiang'er comes back, you should apologize to him. The 3 of us can help you afterwards, I'm sure that the situation will become a lot easier afterwards. Fourth sister, what do you think? The eldest sister, Ling Long, spoke, before prompting Bai Yuntian to speak. Bai Yuntian smiled and nodded her head to look at both Yu Fengyan and Ling Long. Then looking to Bai Yuxuang, she spoke with a gentle voice, "Eldest sister and second sister are correct. Xiang'er might be someone of extreme importance, but he is still my child, and his nature has never changed since then. When he comes back, I'll have a talk with Xiang'er and see that some plans can be made. It won't be long until then. Soon, these small matters will be quickly forgotten about." Bai Yuxuang's face was streaked with tears as she looked up to Bai Yuntian pitifully. "Then please, fourth sister, please allow Xiang'er and I to have a talk. I've done him wrong in the past. I must apologize to him. As an aunt, I've failed in my duty to him. In the future, I will do my best to make up for this." News that Jian Chen was a saint ruler was no secret to the higher echelons of the Changyang manor. Once news of that reached the ears of Bai Yuxuang, became so frightened that her spirit was terror-struck as well. In her heart, she began to feel apologetic for what she had done to Jian Chen in the past, and with time, she began to try to find a day and opportunity to talk with the other three sisters to see if she could perhaps apologize to him. "Mother, I've returned." Just at that moment, the sound of Jian Chen came calling from a distance away. The four seated women all glanced upwards to see a young man and elderly figure come walking quickly towards them. "Xiang'er is back. What fortunate timing." Bai Yuntian grew gleeful as soon as she recognized Jian Chen. She, Yu Fengyan, and Ling Long were all equally happy and excited to see him. Jian Chen was the pride and glory of Changyang Manor, and they all felt proud to be related to him. Out of the four of them, only Bai Yuxuang was the only one not entirely excited. Instead, she was rather apprehensive. But despite her feelings, she managed to force out a smile on her face. Chapter 670, Return of the Ancestor. 2. Mother, aunties, you all were here as well it seems. Calling out to them all in greeting, Jian Chen approached them with a smile on his face. "Xiang'er, your return was just in time. Come, come, your mother has some things I wish to talk about." Bai Yuntian took Jian Chen by the hand and dragged him to sit down. Before he could even say anything, Bai Yuntian spoke first. "Xiang'er, today your mother wants to talk to you about your third aunt. She has done you wrong in the past, but in the end we are still family. I hope that you'll forgive your third aunt and won't begrudge her for before." Jian Chen was surprised by this and turned to look at his third aunt. He didn't have a favorable opinion of her since he remembered how she used to treat him before. Ever since the beginning, she made life difficult for him with all the obstacles she put. Bai Yuxuang could feel herself grow quiet knowing that Jian Chen's gaze was on her. Forcing a smile onto her face, she spoke, "Xiang'er, I've done many wrong things towards you as a result of my narrow-mindedness. I've failed in my duty as your auntie, and for the past few days, your third aunt has been reflecting on this. I've acknowledged my mistakes and wish to apologize to you, Xiang'er. I hope that you'll forgive this auntie and give me another chance." But Jian Chen responded to her with a great big smile, "I've long since forgotten about the past. Third auntie, you shouldn't be so concerned about such matters." While Jian Chen didn't have a good opinion of her, she was still his aunt in the end. As the third wife of his father, she was family and someone he would see often. If he and her were to have a falling out, it would influence the entire household. Jian Chen loved and cherished his family, as he had never won in his past life. Thus, he was reluctant to have anything sad happen to his household and would try to avoid any unfortunate situations such as this one by choosing to forgive the aunt. Furthermore, he understood the power he had now. If he was adamant in pushing Bai Yuxuang away, then the elders of the clan would surely try to protect their own statuses by treating her badly. This would then lead to Bai Yuxuang being mistreated within the manor and cause problems with his father as well. Ha ha ha, the Xiang'er of today grows even more understanding with each passing day. Third sister, you've heard him. He has already forgotten about the matters of the past. You can rest assured now, there is no longer any conflict between us four sisters. There's no need for such conflict between family members after all. The eldest aunt spoke. Yes, of course. From now on, I will do my best to listen to my sisters. Bai Yuxuan nodded her head furiously with great joy. Knowing that Jian Chen was forgiving her had allowed all of her apprehension to simply melt away. The second aunt looked to Jian Chen with a fond look. Xianger. You've come back home again so soon. Why don't you stay for longer this time? Then, looking to Bai Hai, she gave an inquisitive look. Xianger, who might this elder be? Bai Yuxuang's previous situation with him had knocked Jian Chen for a loop. But when Yu Fengyan brought him back to awareness of the more important matters. Straightening himself up with a solemn expression, he spoke. Eldest aunt, second aunt, third aunt, I've important matters to talk with my mother. If we could have this conversation another time? Ah, yes. No problem at all. Your mother hasn't seen you for a long time, there must be plenty you two wish to talk about. We won't take up any more of your time then, take your time now. Ling Long spoke before bring both Yu Fengyan and Bai Yuxuang away from the garden. Passing by Bai Hai, the three of them looked only briefly at him to wonder just who he was before leaving completely. When the three of them disappeared from sight, all that remained in the garden was Jian Chen, Bai Yuntian, and Bai Hai. Bai Yuntian stared inquisitively at Jian Chen and was just about to ask what in the world was the matter with him when she stared behind at Bai Hai. Straight away, her face slackened as memories from several days ago came flooding back to her about what Jian Chen told her about the Bai family. Connecting two and two, Bai Yuntian quickly arrived at a conclusion. Xianger, who might this senior be? She asked. Inside her chest, her heart was already starting to beat rapidly. Mother, your child has done well. I've found the patriarch of our Bai family, the patriarch lost to us well over 30 years ago. Jian Chen spoke exuberantly. What? Bai Yuntian's face grew shocked. Jian Chen's words had been like a clap of thunder to completely astound her where she stood. She had never expected to see that her own son would even find information of the lost patriarch, let alone actually bring him back. For a good while, Bai Yuntian was speechless. Finally, she found herself looking at Bai Hai to ask with a trembling voice, Are you really patriarch Bai, patriarch to my Bai family? Bai Hai studied Bai Yuntian closely, seeing that a descendant to his family was in front of him at this very moment had filled the elder with unrestrained emotions. That would be correct. I am the patriarch to the Bai family, Bai Hai. He spoke with a hint of a shudder. In the current moment, he felt as if he was a father to the prodigal son, and his voice could hardly contain his emotions. Now that his identity was confirmed, Bai Yuntian fell to her knees to cry out, This descendant welcomes the return of the patriarch. Up to your feet now, up I say. There are only us left to the Bai, there's no need for such etiquette. Bai Hai immediately hurried to lift Bai Yuntian to her feet. Now that he had found a member to his family, Bai Hai was besides himself with joy. Slowly helping Bai Yuntian to her feet, Bai Hai opened his mouth to speak, Tell me what you know of the massacre 30 years ago. Everything you know, you must tell me without a single detail left out. He was frantic in his deep desire to learn just which person was the one responsible. Patriarch, the massacre happened when I was only a child, so I know little of the events, less of even who were responsible. But my father did tell me that they were after the inheritance of our Bai family. Bai Hai's eyes flashed dangerously, whipping up a barrier to prevent sound from going past it. He placed the barrier around the entire garden. It glimmered hazily in the air, but the entire place within the sphere was now protected from the exterior without people even being able to see what was going on within. The beast fur, has it been taken from us? Bai Hai asked grimly. It's right here. Jian Chen immediately produced a box from within his space ring to hand to Bai Hai. Patriarch, there's 3 pieces to the beast fur in here, one of them being the inheritance from our Bai family. The other 2 pieces were ones I found on my own during my travels. Without paying much attention to what Jian Chen's words, Bai Hai took the box and opened it to retrieve the pieces of the beast fur from within. When he saw the 3 pieces, his eyes flashed with a surprised look. These 3 pieces are identical. Yes, Patriarch. They are all the exact same. Whether it's in size, shape, or material, it's all the same. Would you happen to know the secret behind them? Jian Chen asked. Chapter 671, Secrets of the White Beast Fur. Bai Hai's hands grasped tightly at the 3 beast furs in his hand. For a while, he was deep in thought. These beast furs are of unordinary origins. I once found a piece of it in a secret location many years ago. It was with the assistance of this beast fur that I was able to make the breakthrough from a heaven saint master to a saint ruler. The beast furs have that powerful of an ability? It can truly help make the breakthrough into the mighty saint ruler realm? Jian Chen couldn't help but gasp as he asked to verify the words Bai Hai said. Sighing, Bai Hai replied, "It sounds rather incredulous at first mention, but they truly have that ability." Patriarch, then how would one be able to use this piece of fur to make that breakthrough? Jian Chen was somewhat urgent as he asked this question. He knew that it was imperative he knew the piece of information. With it, he'd be able to make the breakthrough to understanding the mysteries of the world to become a saint ruler. But the Patriarch shook his head with a regretful look. I don't even know what had happened at the time when I had the beast furs. At one point, it began to release a divinely aura before the mysteries of the world began to evolve around me. I took this chance to absorb its knowledge and comprehend it for myself to become a saint ruler. Jian Chen felt shocked by this information and could only stare incredulously at Bai Hai. In his mind, he knew that this seemingly ordinary piece of beast fur was actually capable of releasing an energy able to assist a person to make the breakthrough to become a saint ruler. Pausing for a brief moment, Bai Hai began to continue his speech, but even while I was able to become a saint ruler because of the beast fur, I wasn't ever able to find out what conditions made it possible. Even after countless of experiments and research to find its secrets, they all ended up in failure. As such, I've spent 200 years researching it and tried countless of methods to force its secrets out, but to no avail. With no further path to tread, I decided to pass it down within the family in hopes that one fortunate descendant would someday open up the secrets to this beast fur. Alas, I had no idea that this beast fur would be such an unfortunate item. My family grew strong because of it, but at the same time, it was this same item that brought forth the downfall of it. Bai Hai lamented grievously. The mystery that was the beast fur was a curse rather than fortune. Jian Chen let out a sigh as well after seeing the pained look on Bai Hai's face. The fate that befell the Bai family was simply far too tragic. Patriarch, if someone came to steal away the beast fur, then they have to know about the mystery behind it. Other than you, how many other people would know about it? Would they be involved? Jian Chen asked. Bai Hai slowly turned around to show the mother and son his back. Looking up to the skies, Bai Hai thought for a moment before scratching his head. There is none that come to mind. I've never told anyone about the beast fur before besides those of the direct lineage to the Bai family. Even after 30 years since the massacre, I've come across no information that would help me learn about the ones responsible. But then his face darkened afterwards, but the enemy is a very strong one. 30 years ago, I was of the 4th heavenly layer, and the one chasing me was at the very least a 6th heavenly layer saint ruler. I was nearly at the brink of death itself before I finally managed to comprehend a holy art to escape. By use of this holy art, I managed to escape death by a fluke. While I was able to escape with my life, I was not able to escape unscathed. My energy was extremely dilapidated, and it was then that the saint ruler of the sect of Dragon and Tiger found me. He fed me radiant spirit pills and helped me recover my strength, thus I owed him a favor. Bai Hai shook his head as he remembered the past, but I never would have imagined that it would be due to this favor that I would nearly kill my very own descendant. It is worth rejoicing that the situation didn't reach such a point like that, however, or I'd feel regret for all eternity afterwards. Patriarch, what happens in the past should stay in the past, let's not talk any more about it. Aren't we doing well and fine now? Jian Chen smiled dryly. Bai Hai nodded his head to smile gratefully at him. I will take revenge for the massacre of my family. That is a definite. The enemies to the Bai may be strong, and they may even be a part of an even stronger force, but with a genius like you in my family, I've faith that taking vengeance for my family will not be an impossible task. Jian Chen grew solemn at Bai Hai's words. Patriarch, please rest assured. I will take back the blood debt of the Bai family into my own hands. No matter who the enemy is, I will make sure they will pay the terrible price 100-fold. Very well. While slightly outlandish for now, you've the strength to back up your words. However, I've still no idea to who might be our mysterious assailant, so talking about vengeance is still quite early. In the meanwhile, you should focus on bringing up your strength. As you are now, my descendant, you've not the power to take vengeance yet. Even I myself don't have the strength to do so yet. Bai Hai spoke. Jian Chen nodded his head earnestly. Looking at the 3 pieces of beast fur for a moment longer, Bai Hai returned them to Jian Chen. My child, you are the one remaining hope to our Bai family. I entrust these 3 pieces to you for safekeeping. Perhaps you'll come to see the evolution of the mysteries of the world and use it to empower yourself. Jian Chen hesitated to accept the beast furs, but he finally relented after a while. I believe that there'll be more than just 3 of these pieces. I wonder what grand secret these pieces of fur are hiding. It can't simply just be a tool for evolving the mysteries of the world. Your guess would be correct. Ever since I saw these 3 pieces of fur, I came to the same conclusion myself. But I still cannot conjecture much else from that. So let us leave the discussion there. It'd be fruitless to try and comment any further without knowing anything more. Bai Hai spoke. Turning his head to Bai Yuntian, his voice took on a gentler tone. My child, how many more of our family do you know has survived? Patriarch, including this mother and son pair here, there are still another 2 more for a total of 4 to my knowledge. Bai Yuntian spoke darkly. Ai. Bai Hai sighed sorrowfully. His face grew grim for a moment before slowly returning to its normal color. Very well, let us not talk any more about this topic. There's plenty of people waiting for you outside. You 2 should finish up what business you have with them. And with that, the barrier around the garden was dispelled, causing the exterior of the barrier to once more appear in Jian Chen's eyes along with a group of people waiting anxiously outside the barrier radius. Amongst this group was the clan leader, Changyang Ba. Ha ha ha, Xianger, you've returned. The last time you came home, your dear father was unfortunately too slow to meet with you. This time, stay for some time, why don't you? Changyang Ba laughed out loud as he looked to his child with pride. Calming himself down, Jian Chen looked to his father with a smile. But then the realization of something new to his father's presence suddenly brought an excited smile to his face. Father, you've become an Earth Saint Master. Ha ha ha. I only just broke through not too long ago. Your father is already in his 40s, if I couldn't break through to become an Earth Saint Master, that'd mean I had no skill to begin with. Changyang Ba chortled. But when his eyes landed upon Bai Hai's figure, a respectful look immediately entered his face. When he saw the barrier put up around the garden, he knew that this person here was responsible for it and that this person had to be a saint ruler. Xianger, whom might this senior be? Changyang Ba asked. Despite knowing that his son was a saint ruler, he still didn't dare neglect his etiquette towards another one. Chapter 672, Seeing Brother Changyang. Who, Xianger, whom might this senior be? Changyang Ba asked. Despite knowing that his son was a saint ruler, he still didn't dare neglect his etiquette towards another one. Husband, this is the patriarch to my Bai family. Not even letting Jian Chen speak, Bai Yuntian beat him to the punch. Chang Yongba was startled. Looking at Bai Hai, he couldn't understand just how Bai Yuntian would suddenly have her family patriarch appear here. But he quickly recollected himself and cupped his hands in greeting to Bai Hai. Junior Chang Yongba pays his respects to the patriarch. This junior pays his respects to the senior. Following Chang Yongba's example, the other high-ranking members of the cupped and bowed their hands in respect to him. Each and every single one of them knew that the ability to create a barrier was something only a saint ruler could do. But none of the doyens of the clan could hardly contain themselves. Not a single one of them thought that the figure right besides Bai Yuntian would also be a saint ruler. Patriarch, this is my father. Jian Chen introduced Bai Hai to Chang Yongba. The expression on Bai Hai's face didn't change. Instead, he measured Chang Yongba up and down with an indifferent look. While your talent is mediocre, you gave birth to an exceptional son. Well done. The earlier part to Bai Hai's words made Chang Yongba feel rather embarrassed. The fact that a person of his age could break through to become an Earth Saint Master was already considered quite decent, but it was by no means on the level of a genius. However, it also didn't mean that he was bad either. So when Bai Hai commented that he was mediocre, Chang Yongba felt slightly depressed. But the later half of Bai Hai's words filled him up with the utmost pride. Having a son as accomplished as Jian Chen was an achievement any father would be proud of. In the future, you needn't call me patriarch. Just call me grandfather. Bai Hai spoke. Yes, grandfather. Bai Yuntian, Chang Yongba, and Jian Chen responded. Soon after, Chang Yongba invited Bai Hai to the center of the manor to discuss. Due to Bai Hai's status and absolute strength, he received the most warmest of welcomes from the entire clan. Even Jian Chen and Bai Yuntian accompanied him to the halls while talking. Never did any matter relating to the Bai family ever come up, however. 2 hours later, the group assembled in the halls finally scattered apart, and for the time being, Bai Hai took up residence in the manor. In Chang Yongba's room, Chang Yongba and Bai Yuntian sat by a table to talk to one another. Chang Yongba looked to Bai Yuntian with a conflicted look. Yuner, could you possibly tell me what in the world is going on? Why has a saint ruler suddenly appeared in our manor? Was your previously family not a small one? In the past, Chang Yongba asked Bai Yuntian of her family, but Chang Yongba had only thought that the Bai family was a small familial power to some small city since he had never heard of the name before. But when a saint ruler from the Bai family suddenly appeared out of nowhere today, he finally realized that the Bai family wasn't as unordinary as he thought. Bai Yuntian sighed. Husband, I beg your forgiveness for hiding so many things from you. Long before, I was experiencing some sorrows, and the true events that happened to my Bai family was not an easy matter to talk about. I can understand that. Yuner, if things aren't convenient to talk about, then there is no need to talk about it. Chang Yongba spoke. Bai Yuntian shook her head softly. Now that I've finally found the patriarch to my family due to the help of Xianger, there's no need to hide it anymore. You should know about the circumstances to my family. Afterwards, Bai Yuntian explained the entire story of what happened to the Bai family to Chang Yongba so that he could understand the story. After listening to Bai Yuntian finish the epic that was her family history, Chang Yongba was very quiet for a long time. His mind was completely shocked at what he had just listened to. A saint ruler that looked after a 1,000-year-old family. A family that even the Changyang clan couldn't possibly hope of using to scale in power. Chang Yongba could never have imagined that the fourth wife he chose would possibly be related to such a powerful family. It was all very hard to take in. It took a long time for Chang Yongba to finally calm himself. His face was still filled with conflicting emotions, however. Yuner, he sighed. I've never thought that you'd have such an identity. You must have felt burdened by these secrets. If the patriarch to your family didn't appear today, I'm sure you would have hidden this secret from me my entire life. Husband, I have my troubles. The enemies to the Bai family are strong, and even my patriarch stands no chance against them. For that reason, I never told you in case that news would leak out. Even though there is that chance today still, husband, I hope that you will keep my secret. It must never reach the ears of an outsider. Bai Yuntian repeated seriously. Nodding his head, Changyang Ba pledged, I understand. Be at ease, my wife. Your family's secrets will be safeguarded by me. But we must find an excuse to tell the doyens of the clan as well. In a very remote part of the Changyang manor, there was a small courtyard. It wasn't too big, but there was a small 2-story pavilion with a garden of its own to be seen. It was quiet in this courtyard with not a single person to be seen. Even the soldiers patrolling nearby didn't dare go near. This courtyard felt almost abandoned and not important to the entire manor. But despite this, there were actually 8 strong-looking soldiers standing as still as statues around the place. Their glares were intimidating, and their expressions were blank. They represented the elite soldiers of the clan and were all great saint masters in strength. At this moment, a white-robed youth came striding forward to walk into this small courtyard. Upon seeing this youth, the 8 soldiers immediately felt shocked, but then a reverent look entered their eyes and they stood straight to attention to greet him. We pay our respects to the 4th master. As soon as the youth came walking by, the 8 soldiers bowed at the waist to greet him respectfully. This youth was Jian Chen. There's no need for such etiquette. How has my eldest brother fared recently? Jian Chen asked the 8 soldiers kindly. If I may report, 4th master, the eldest master has been in his room almost every day. Very rarely does he come out. One soldier reported to him. Jian Chen nodded his head with a conflicted look in his eyes as he regarded the faraway mansion. Sighing to himself, Jian Chen strode inside. The small pavilion was spotless with simple furniture and decoration to be seen here and there. Not a single item that could be seen as invaluable was placed inside, and it looked more like the house of a peasant farmer. Such a plain decorated interior made this place feel extremely offbeat in comparison to the entire Changyang manor. Sizing up the pavilion, Jian Chen then looked to the wooden stairs that lead up to the 2nd story. Without bothering to hide his entrance, Jian Chen took one step at a time across the wooden boards so that they would creak loudly at every step. 4th brother, is that you? A simple-sounding voice called out to Jian Chen's ears. It was a voice that was filled with warmth. It was the voice of Jian Chen's eldest brother, Changyang Hu. Big brother, it's me. Your 4th brother has come to see you. Jian Chen called up from down below. Scaling the stairs, he quickly made it up onto the 2nd floor. 4th brother, you've come. I knew I heard your voice just then. Come, someone help me up. Changyang Hu's voice shook with a nervous excitement. As soon as Jian Chen entered the room where Changyang Hu was, he could see his limbless brother being attended to by 2 maids onto a wheelchair. This slave pays her respects to the 4th master. Upon seeing Jian Chen, the 2 maids attending to Changyang Hu curtsied to Jian Chen. Chapter 673, Breakthrough into the Saint Ruler Realm. 1. You 2 may leave. Jian Chen spoke plainly to the 2 maids there. Yes, 4th master. The 2 maids bowed respectfully to him before making a gentle retreat from the room. Jian Chen looked to his wheelchair-bound brother. At the moment, Changyang Hu was wearing a simple blue-colored robe. Since he was limbless, the sleeves to the robe clung helplessly to the side of his body and wheelchair. Compared to the him before, there weren't any major changes, but Jian Chen could sense that in Changyang Hu's eyes, there was a hint of color to them rather than the dulled despair that one would normally expect from someone of his situation. From Changyang Hu's gaze alone, Jian Chen could tell that he was already accepting of the fact that he was limbless and was ready to move on from that fact. It was something that made Jian Chen feel rather comforted by. Eldest brother, you've suffered greatly, how have you fared these past few days? Jian Chen arrived by Changyang Hu's side and spoke in concern to his brother. Changyang Hu was excited however. Smiling, he looked back at Jian Chen, ha ha ha, fourth brother, there's no need to worry about your big brother. Even though I've lost my limbs and became a cripple, I've felt rather calm these past few days. I've thought a lot recently, and you know. I came to realize something. The previously calm life I felt to be boring isn't so bad. I'm tired of the days of fighting and killing, a life like this has grown on me. Just based on Changyang Hu's facial expressions, Jian Chen could tell that Changyang Hu was being honest. He couldn't sense a single lie or fabrication from Changyang Hu's lips, meaning that his eldest brother truly did feel this way. Big brother, you can rest assured now. Your 4 limbs will come back soon. Wait until your 4th brother becomes a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. That'll be the day you recover completely. Jian Chen pledged. Ha ha ha, 4th brother, your big brother will wait for that day then. I might be accustomed to this type of lifestyle, but not having limbs can be rather inconvenient. I always need someone to help me, so if I can recover my limbs, that'll be for the better. Changyang Hu laughed. Compared to before, the Changyang Hu of today was in great spirits. The contrast between the two was so great that it felt as if they were completely different persons. To him, recovering his 4 limbs wasn't so that he could return to the life of cultivation, traveling, or fighting. He wanted those limbs back merely so that he could live his life in convenience. In the time since Jian Chen last saw him, Changyang Hu had lost all of his heroic ambitions. Realizing the great transformation his brother underwent, Jian Chen wasn't quite sure if he could call this situation a good or bad thing. And for a moment, it caused Jian Chen quite a small amount of concern. But then something suddenly caught Changyang Hu's attention. Staring strangely at Jian Chen, he spoke, 4th brother, would you verify the news your big brother heard recently? I heard that you broke through to go from a Heaven Saint Master to become a Saint Ruler. Is that true? Smiling, Jian Chen replied, big brother, what you heard is a half-truth and a half-lie. Half-truth and a half-lie? Changyang Hu asked suspiciously. Big brother, I am still but a Heaven Saint Master and not yet a Saint Ruler. But because of some other factors, my battle strength is comparable to some of the weaker Saint Rulers. That's why some people have mistaken that I've become a Saint Ruler. Oh, I see now. But 4th brother, you've achieved so much at your age. As a big brother, I can only feel pride at your achievements. With your talent, 4th brother, your big brother has no doubts that you'll become a genuine Saint Ruler in no time at all. Changyang Hu laughed. His personality was a lot calmer than before, but knowing that his 4th brother had the strength of a Saint Ruler was enough to bring forth a tremendous wave of excitement to him. And yet, it was far harder to see his excitement compared to the other doyens in the clan. His heart was practically as immovable as a boulder. Big brother, let me bring you on a stroll around the manor. You must have felt bored staying in this room all day. Jian Chen suggested before pushing the wheelchair out from the pavilion. 4th brother, why not take a stroll around the courtyard? There's no need to go beyond that. Your big brother doesn't really like staying in places with other people. It's rather noisy, and your big brother enjoys the quiet places now. It's the only way I can feel at peace. For the entire day, Jian Chen spent the time with Changyang Hu before finally leaving. During that time, he spoke plenty with his brother, and from his brother did Jian Chen learn several things. Because of the great transformation his eldest brother had, Jian Chen couldn't help but feel at times that his brother had seemingly seen enlightenment and broke free from the secular world. As it were, Changyang Hu felt rather unselfish for anything and desired nothing. Even an important matter like the return of his limbs weren't anything that bore major impact on his future life or mood. It almost felt as if having limbs or not bore no difference at all to Changyang Hu. That night, Jian Chen went to the room Bai Hai was in for a small chat before then returning to his own room to rest. His room was magnificently decorated with great furniture and decorations. Sitting at the center of his bed, Jian Chen held a space ring in his hand. It was the space ring Situ Qing left behind with all of his possessions in it. Situ Qing was an extremely wealthy person. I see. Several dozen purple cards to his wealth. There has to be more to this, I'm sure. I wonder just how many purple coins there are in total though. Jian Chen sighed to himself after looking at the contents of the space ring. Situ Qing was a saint ruler that lived for over 1,000 years after all. As a hermit saint ruler, the items he amassed over the years surely had to be precious. It was definitely not something a heaven saint master could compare in wealth, and every precious item in the space ring had at times confused even Jian Chen on what they were. Taking out a thick book from the space ring, Jian Chen looked at the cover of the book to read out the calligraphic words, "Secrets to the Dragon and Tiger." Seeing the words on this book, Jian Chen's eyes lit up. Flipping through the pages, Jian Chen's smile grew wider and wider with each page read. So this was a heaven-tier battle skill. This has to be the resting skill that Situ Qing hid away on him. Studying the heaven-tier battle skill for a moment, Jian Chen thought to himself, now that the Changyang Manor has become powerful with everyone within distance knowing of it, we should have the strength to protect these heaven-tier battle skills. I can place these books here at home and wait for a day to let father cultivate them then. In a flash, the treasures that the sect of Dragon and Tiger once held was quickly redistributed and reclassified by Jian Chen as treasures for the Changyang clan. Putting aside the book, Jian Chen took a second look at the contents of the space ring. Half a moment later, a circular scroll came tumbling out from the space ring. The shortcut to becoming a saint ruler, could this possibly be it? Jian Chen's eyes blazed with excitement as he stared at the scroll in his hand. The item that Jian Chen desired most from Situ Qing's space ring was the acclaimed shortcut that would help him break through to become a saint ruler. Immediately untying the rope that held the scroll tight, Jian Chen unfurled the scroll in front of him. It wasn't that big in size and was only a meter in length. The parchment was soft, and it felt more like fur rather than paper to the touch. But when Jian Chen's eyes fell upon the scroll, he couldn't help but rub his eye in stupefied shock. The reason for that was because of the fact that both sides to this scroll was completely white. Not a single character could be seen on it, nor a splotch of ink. It was completely white paper. Chapter 674, Breakthrough into the Saint Ruler Realm. Did I find the wrong thing? The shortcut Situ Qing was talking surely isn't this scroll. Jian Chen stared vacantly at the scroll in his hands. Muttering to himself, Jian Chen thought of something at once and placed the scroll down to continue to rifle through the space ring. Not too long after, 3 more scrolls came out from the space ring. These 3 scrolls were made from ordinary beast fur, material so common that it could not at all be considered precious. But Jian Chen didn't neglect the existence of these 4 scrolls for that reason. Opening up each and every one of these scrolls, Jian Chen laid them side to side to one another, but the effect had only left him in disappointment. While there were marking to be seen, it was all the writings of Situ Qing and his writings of several rather unimportant things. Other than that, there was nothing else on anything important such as breaking through to become a saint ruler, and certainly nothing that could help Jian Chen. Rather disappointed, Jian Chen placed the 3 scrolls down onto the bed and continued to look into the space ring with renewed vigor. But no matter how many times he looked through the space ring, he couldn't find a 5th scroll. What in the world is that scroll that can help one become a saint ruler? Why can't I find it? Is it because it isn't in Situ Qing's space ring? Jian Chen thought. Impossible. Such a precious item can't possibly be put elsewhere. According to logic, it has to be on his person. Jian Chen thought in contrast to his previous thoughts. Taking the scrolls he found earlier, he placed them out again for another look. In the end, all he could see was a blank canvas. Other than that, there was nothing else of unordinary stature. Looking at the blank scrolls again and again, Jian Chen was trying his best to try and find whatever secrets there was to it. Just at that moment, the mind space within Jian Chen's head shook violently as the fragments of the mysteries of the world he first absorbed in the holy ground of Mercenary City began to hob violently as if drawn to some sort of mysterious source. Unable to stop himself from closing his eyes, Jian Chen felt his spirit suddenly bring these fragments into the material world from his body. Forgot about me? It seemed to ask from the chaotic space in front of him. Just barely, Jian Chen could feel his spirit reach an extremely vague connection with the blank scrolls in front of him. It almost felt as if these scrolls were harmonizing with his spirit to become one with his body. At the same time, the blank white scrolls in Jian Chen's hand began to glow a faint golden light. Suddenly detaching itself from Jian Chen's hand and floating in midair, it began to turn. Golden runes began to float into the air as well before forming some sort of strange and mysterious runic formation. As soon as these runes materialized, the entire space around it began to twist and distort at its touch as if it were being attracted by the surrounding space. And a strange energy suddenly materialized into the place before converging in the middle of the room to float there. This blank white canvas now had a strange power to it. It was awakened by the fragments of the mysteries of the world from Jian Chen's mind. And these fragments were seemingly undergoing some sort of strange evolution. Shutting his eyes tight, Jian Chen felt the connection between his spirit and the scroll grow even stronger, and the evolved mysteries of the world from the scroll began to grow extremely distinct to his senses. Completely letting go of his body, Jian Chen forgot himself for a brief moment as he entered a state of enlightenment. In this one moment, he could feel his spirit harmonizing with the world itself. The two were completely indistinguishable from one another, and every aspect of the world and its mysteries began to appear in his mind in a vague manner rather than clear. From another room Bai Hai was taking residence in, the cultivating Bai Hai suddenly found his eyelids opening up. There was a flicker to his body before he disappeared from the bed to reappear outside his room. Both of his lively bright eyes were now looking off into the direction where Jian Chen was. My grandson is comprehending the mysteries of the world, he's about to break through. He muttered to himself with an ecstatic glee. As a saint ruler, he was deeply in tune with the mysteries of the world and its energy. And with the distance he was away from Jian Chen, he could tell that it was him that was undergoing this period of enlightenment. Bai Hai stared at the direction of Jian Chen's room for a moment longer before the smile on his face quickly receded from it. But it seems he's still lacking the control. My grandson hasn't yet grasped the deepest concepts of controlling the energy of the world. That is a step hard for any heaven saint master wishing to become a saint ruler. The faint golden light that was illuminating off the scroll next to Jian Chen's head continued to evolve the mysteries of the world. And in Jian Chen's mind, he was slowly being fed this evolved form to experience a new strange world. With the help of this scroll, Jian Chen was growing a deeper and deeper level of comprehension of the mysteries of the world. These mysteries were becoming more and more clear to Jian Chen, and he could feel himself growing one step closer to becoming a saint ruler. Under this process of understanding the mysteries of the world, Jian Chen felt himself lost to the passage of time. He had no idea just how much time was going past, but soon came a point where Jian Chen felt so close to becoming a saint ruler that he was practically touching it. But it was at this one moment that he felt this small membrane of a gap become a mountain gate that was extremely difficult to climb. No matter how much he tried, he could not step past this gate. These scrolls could only evolve a small portion of the mysteries of the world. For the sixth cycle Heaven Saint Master, they'd be able to take a shortcut to become a saint ruler, but it would not help them make the breakthrough completely. One would still have to depend on their own understanding of the world to continue on. And Jian Chen had a very lacking basis of the understandings of the world. As a Heaven Saint Master, he was lacking in complete comprehension of the energy of the world and how to harness it. Thus, even when he absorbed the fragments of the mysteries of the world, he was unable to take the opportunity to become a saint ruler. These fragments of the mysteries of the world were not enough for a recently broken through heaven saint master to become a saint ruler. Slowly, the golden light that was emanating from the scroll started to grow dim. And the light golden runic words that came from the mysteries of the world too started to fade without the assistance of the white scrolls. And so, Jian Chen began to feel himself slowly being pulled away from this state of comprehension. Sensing the change, Jian Chen felt extremely unwilling in his heart. He was just lacking this one final step. If he could do it, he'd be able to go from a heaven saint master to a saint ruler. This was the realm that he was constantly yearning for. Am I really going to fail just like that? Jian Chen hulled to himself in extreme unwillingness to stop right there. Chapter 675, Breakthrough into the Saint Ruler Realm. 3. The evolved mysteries of the world slowly started to recede from the blank scroll, and the worldly energy that had filled the entire room too started to fade away. As it appeared, the chance for a heaven saint master to become a saint ruler was nearing an end. By now, countless of people were converged right in front of Jian Chen's room. Of these people, they included the lord of the clan and his 4 wives. Even Changyang who normally preferred peace and quiet, was wheeled to the front of his room as well. Besides them, there were also the doyens of the clan. Right by Bai Hai's side was an eye-catching purple-robed middle-aged man. This man was the king of the Jessen kingdom. 2 days had elapsed since the beginning of this event, just enough time for news of Patriarch Bai's return to be sent by Bai Yuntian all the way to the imperial palace for Bai Hai to hear. As soon as he heard both the patriarch and his beloved nephew had returned, Bai Dao had sprung to his feet and immediately asked of the king to return to Lore City. As expected, the king himself had long since heard of the rumors regarding Jian Chen. He knew that his future son-in-law was in existence as strong as a saint ruler, so when Bai Dao told him that Jian Chen had returned home, the king immediately started the preparations for them to travel to Lore City. It's been 2 days already. Has my beloved son-in-law managed to break through to become a saint ruler yet? The king's eyes would occasionally glance at Jian Chen's room as he spoke of the others. Ever since he came to the Changyang Manor, he and the others had stood right in front of Jian Chen's room for practically the entire day and night. It's unfortunate that we don't know what's going on. We wouldn't dare bother Xiang'er for no reason during such an important event like this. If not for grandfather's knowledge to tell us Xiang'er was attempting to make the breakthrough, we would have never known what exactly Xiang'er was going through. All we can do is hope for his success to become a saint ruler. Changyang Ba's eyes flickered here and there to look around the enormous manor in an apparent sign of anxiety. This moment of ascension was playing heavily at Changyang Ba's nerves. Xiang'er is extremely talented beyond all else. I know that he'll succeed. Jian Chen's second aunt Yufeng Yan spoke with a quavering voice. She had been one of the few to hear from Bai Hai's lips that Jian Chen was currently trying to become a saint ruler. By her side was Bai Yuntian, whose entire body was shaking nervously. Her 2 hands were clasped together in prayer, and anxiety filled up her entire body. She did not get any sleep at all for an entire day and night. AI. Only a few years have passed, and Xiangtian is already showing so much promise. He's already outgrown we of the previous generation and reached a height we can only look up to and yearn for. How unexpected. For we of the Bai to have such an outstanding descendant, it makes my heart feel as if there is nothing to fear. The stern-looking man right next to the king exclaimed. This stern-looking man was Jian Chen's uncle, Bai Dao. Right behind them all were the high-ranking members of the Changyang clan who were hoping for Jian Chen's success. His parents weren't the only ones desperately hoping for Jian Chen's success, the doyens of the clan were too. In a remarkably well-decorated room, Bai Hai sat on his bed with his eyes closed shut. He hadn't bothered to be checking up on Jianchen like the others were outside, since with his ability, he could clearly see what the situation was looking like for Jianchen straight away. Suddenly, his eyes flew wide open and a look of regret appeared on his face. Alas, it seems he could not do it. He sighed, my grandson is lacking in the fundamentals. An extremely rare opportunity was placed right in front of him, but he couldn't grasp it. In Jianchen's room, the evolved mysteries of the world were slowly fading away, inversely bringing Jianchen out from his enlightened state of being. He was unable to cross that threshold to become a saint ruler, and now the distance to becoming one was growing farther and farther away. AI. Jianchen let out a sigh of disappointment. He had tried his best, but becoming a saint ruler was by no means an easy task. Despite the fragments of the mysteries of the world assimilating with him and that scroll to help him evolve the fragments, he still couldn't make up for the difference. As a result, he failed to make the climb up. But then, a sudden but unmistakable white glow began to emanate from his space ring. Inconceivably quick as it appeared, the 3 beast furs of mysterious origins somehow managed to fly out from his space ring without Jianchen's doing. At the current moment, these 3 beast furs were still rather mediocre looking, but there was a faint white glow that seemed to form an incomplete map, as if following some sort of rule. The aura that was spilling out from the beast fur now felt as if it contained some aspect of the world in it. This aura. Not too far away from Jianchen, Bai Hai could immediately sense the familiar aura of the 3 beast furs. He had once used one of the beast furs to successfully break through to become a saint ruler, so its aura was deeply ingrained in his memories. This has to be the aura from the beast furs. After slumbering for so many years, it has awakened once again. Excellent. This is far too excellent. With that beast fur, my grandson will definitely have a better chance of becoming a saint ruler. The regretful look on Bai Hai's face was wiped away to reform a look of glee. Shortly afterwards, Bai Hai stepped down from his bed to exit his room so that he could personally see the divine show that would take place. Half the day passed by in this manner, turning the day into late afternoon. The skies were without a cloud, and the sun was bright and sunny as it rose up towards the west. But the light it illuminated from itself was still extremely bright. A group of people stood in front of the Chongyang Manor. For the entire day and night, none of them left the area. Not even their legs moved from the spot. But none of them felt tired even despite not having food or water. Just at that moment, a multicolored light suddenly burst into view of everyone there. At first, this light was so faint that practically no one felt it at first. But as time went on, the light began to grow even stronger, and soon enough, not a single person could disregard this light. Strange, why has the sky turned into this? Everyone, look! The sky has suddenly turned into a spectrum of color. Straight away, many of the people in attendance began to let out curious cries of confusion. Dear heavens, everyone, look up at the skies. Suddenly, someone let out a startled cry. Unable to stop themselves, everyone tilted their heads to look up at the sky only to see the multicolored clouds beginning to gather. What's going on? What in the world is happening? Why are there these rainbow clouds in the sky? They're rainbow-colored. These are the so-called rainbow clouds. Legends have it that when they appear, an auspicious event is about to happen. The previously quiet Chongyang Manor was immediately brought into an uproar. Many of the guards stationed in the manor and the doyens there all stared up at the rainbow clouds in curiosity. When Bai Hai saw the rainbow clouds in the skies, his face could hardly contain his excitement. He's done it. He's broken through. From behind Chongyang Ba, the white-robed Chong Wuji was awestruck from the sight of the rainbow. His eyes looked wondrous for a moment, but when a sudden thought hit him, he let out a shocked but happy cry, I remember now. When rainbow clouds appear in the sky, that means a saint ruler is born. It's the 4th master. He's finally managed to become a saint ruler. Ah, is that true? That's great then. Everyone had immediately started to smile with excitement at that information. The time they were waiting for had finally come at last. As the rainbow clouds in the sky grew thicker and thicker, the colors became more and more pronounced. The clouds were now surrounding the skies for 10,000s of kilometers so that the entire world looked as if it was under a strange aurora like in a dream. This miraculous sight had captivated the eyes of everyone within radius. Each one of them looked up towards the sky in shock, but none of them could understand just what in the world was going on. Chapter 676, Rainbow Clouds. With the rainbow clouds covering the skies, the intense sun that was shining above was completely obscured from the ground below. The skies above the Jessan kingdom was completely blocked from the sun, but the resplendent light from the rainbow clouds was filled with a holy luster, almost, a holy symbol of things to come. As it filled the world, the entire area was no longer the same color as what it were if the sun were to shine on it. Instead, it was filled with the bright multicolored light that made the world seem as if it belonged to a fantasy world. Down on the ground, the citizens of the kingdom were stunned. In no time at all, everyone began to talk to one another about the clouds above with great intensity. Everyone simply didn't understand what in the world was going on, and soon enough, the entire kingdom was abuzz with discussion about the rainbow clouds. One said that the rainbow clouds were an auspicious sign and a sign that peace and fortune would be coming in the future. Another said that the rainbow clouds were a message to the entire world that an absolutely precious treasure was about to appear. Some said that the rainbow clouds were a sign that another powerful existence was born onto the world. One person had even said that this was a warning sign that the entire continent would be washed into a storm of terror and carnage. But whatever the rainbow clouds were a sign of, everyone could at least agree without a doubt that something huge was about to happen, and everyone that saw it would be affected by it. News like that would surely spread out from the kingdom with lightning-quick speed. From Mthushan in the Jessan kingdom, the 3 heaven saint masters of the Huayun sect all stared out at the rainbow clouds with stern faces and silent mouths. Grand Elders, what in the world is going on? Why has these clouds suddenly appeared over our heads? What does this mean? The recently broken through heaven Saint Master Saya asked in confusion. He was extremely confused about why these rainbow clouds were suddenly appearing. The 2 Grand Elders Saya spoke to stared at the rainbow clouds for an even longer time without a response. Soon enough, the 2 of them sighed with a look of undisguised jealousy and admiration on their faces. Someone has broken through. And it's someone close by too. It seems that the Tianyuan continent has yet another saint ruler on it now. One of the Grand Elders sighed. Saya grew awestruck. A saint ruler was an existence that Saya himself had no hopes of ever becoming. He could understand that, as it were, he had no means of reaching such a realm since he was already late in his years when he became a saint ruler. Becoming a saint ruler was infinitely harder than becoming a heaven saint master, making the task impossible for him. The other Grand Elder continued to stare off into the distance from where the rainbow clouds were spreading from. Perplexed, he spoke, "The rainbow clouds aren't too far away from us. This saint ruler has to be within the kingdom then." "I agree. From the looks of the clouds, we should be within 10,000 kilometers of it. That's a very close distance. According to our knowledge, there aren't any 6th cycle heaven saint masters here, so who is this individual? I've heard that the freak from the Chongyang clan has become a saint ruler already. While I couldn't verify the truth of this matter, the rumors are very fierce. Even if that freak hasn't become a saint ruler, he can't possibly be too far away from it. If he was just half a leg into the saint ruler realm before, do you think the one who became a saint ruler now is him? It's a little far-fetched, but his talent isn't of the ordinary ilk. Furthermore, the heart of the rainbow clouds are right above the Chongyang manor." "What? Grand Elder, are you saying the one who became a saint ruler was Chongyang Xiangtian?" Saya's face froze up in shock as he stared at the Grand Elder. Subconsciously, his left hand clutched at the empty robes to his right hand. The loss of his right arm was an unforgettable memory to Saya. When he lost it to Jian Chen those years ago, he had been oppressed by Jian Chen and thus became half a cripple. It was a pain that he could never wash away and never forget about. The two grand elders continued to look up at the skies for a while. I cannot be certain if it truly is that freak from the Chongyang Manor. Saya, go to the base of the mountains and dispatch some disciples to Lore City with haste. By your wish. Saya responded affirmatively before flying to the base of the mountains as fast as he could to send someone to the Changyan Manor. In the area of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom the flame mercenaries occupied, Nubis, Jie Tai and Huang Tianba stood side by side on the top of the imperial palace to look off into the faraway horizon. They were far away from the Jessen Kingdom, so the rainbow clouds couldn't be seen here along with its multicolored light. But with their strengths, they could sense the happenings of the faraway places. Someone has made the breakthrough. Who could it be? Jie Tai asked questioningly. The birth of a saint ruler was no small matter as it would affect even these three. That direction is the direction of Jian Chen's family. It would be a good fit to say that Jian Chen was the one to make the breakthrough. Nubis conjectured. Are you saying brother Jian Chen has become a saint ruler? Huang Tianba was astounded. Both Jie Tai and Huang Tianba stared incredulously at Nubis. His words were a little too much for either of the two to accept. But then Huang Tianba looked relieved. Laughing, he spoke, that would make sense then. It's a little hard to believe, but brother Jian Chen's talent is practically unprecedented. No one in the past has ever had a talent like his. He had already the strength of a saint ruler, so breaking through is only the next reasonable step. The rainbow clouds persisted to stay in the skies for 6 hours before finally receding away from the world. By now, the sun was already falling down beneath the horizon to show only half of its face. As such, the world was now a natural crimson hue rather than the multicolored one from before. In the Chongyang Manor, Chongyang Ba and the other elderly figures could still be seen standing from where they were hours before. The only difference was in their expression. Before, they were worried, but now, they were filled with excitement since they knew that the fourth master of the Chongyang clan had finally beaten the obstacle and made the breakthrough to become a saint ruler. To truly have a saint ruler in their clan was an achievement that everyone felt extremely prideful of. Everyone knew that as long as there was a saint ruler presiding over them, the future implications would be tremendous. Kriawak. Suddenly, the previously closed doors began to open. In the next second, the white robes of Jian Chen made it into view of everyone. There was a nice smile on Jian Chen's face. His expression was calm and serene, nothing too different from before. But if one were to look at him with not their eyes, but their hearts, they could see that the aura that Jian Chen carried with him was drastically different than before. In the past, his aura was sharp and open, making him feel like an unsheathed blade ready to strike. But now, that sharpness was hidden away from them to become rather calm. It was almost as if he had regressed into becoming an ordinary person. If a person of an even higher realm were to look at him, they would feel as if they were looking at an illusion. An illusion where Jian Chen had become one with the world almost inseparably. From a rise of his hand or the fall of his foot, the mysteries of the world would follow with it. Chapter 677, Celebrating with the Kingdom. In the moment Jian Chen stepped out from his room, his entire body seemed as if it was radiating some sort of invisible light that shined across the entire world. In front of him, the entire world looked as if it had lost its color. In Jian Chen's eyes, the world around him was completely different than before. This was all in thanks to his ability to discern the mysteries of the world. He could sense that his own body was one with space. As long as he wished for it, he could use the spatial force to instantly travel to another place. In fact, he could even use the space around him to a certain degree as if it were his own domain. In the world, there was a faint but exceedingly strong energy that floated about. It was intangible and practically invisible to the human eye. But he could sense its existence. This was world force, a force even stronger than Saint Force. When the entire group outside of Jian Chen's room saw him, they all grew quiet so that not a single person said a word. They only stared at Jian Chen as if he were some sort of valuable treasure to behold. In this passing moment, they were no longer looking at the fourth master of the Changyang clan. They were looking at one of the rarest individuals of the Tian Yuan continent. They were looking at a saint ruler. Ha ha ha, excellent. You are more than worthy of being a descendant of my Bai family. Grandson, your talent is exceedingly shocking. The fact that I've a descendant like you makes me feel completely at ease. A loud roar of laughter boomed from behind to break the silence of the area. Following the laughter, Bai Hai came striding into the area with a look of pride and joy. The group of elders had turned their heads to look at Bai Hai when he entered. But still, not a single one spoke. Instead, they moved to the side so as to give him a direct passageway to Jian Chen. There was joy on Jian Chen's face too. The fact that he'd be able to break through from being a heaven saint master to becoming a saint ruler was completely unexpected to him too. When he first found the scroll from Situ Qing's space ring, he had only intended on giving it a look-see to see just what in the world this shortcut was. Never did he think that this shortcut to understanding the mysteries of the world would allow him to suddenly gain enlightenment and breakthrough. It had awakened the fragments of the mysteries of the world in him and brought him to an elevated realm of thought. In the end, the 3 pieces of beast fur had given him another boost so that he could fully detach himself from the heaven saint master realm to become a saint ruler. Xiang, you've become a genuine saint ruler? Bai Yuntian's voice quavered with excitement as she asked him. Though she knew the answer, she desperately wished to hear the answer from her own son's lips. Jian Chen's eyes landed upon the figure of his mother. Smiling, he replied, "Mother, your son has not failed you. I've managed to break through." Ha ha ha. Well done. Well done indeed. The son of Changyang Ba, has become a saint ruler. What an outstanding son I have. Time has not made me weak it seems. Changyang Ba boomed with a prideful laughter. His voice was joyful and filled the entire manor with his echoes so that even plenty of people outside of the manor could hear the absolute joy in his voice. The king of the Jessan kingdom himself was excited. To have a saint ruler in his kingdom was an extremely fortuitous event. But the most important thing was the fact that this saint ruler was engaged to his daughter. Having a saint ruler as his son-in-law was something that he never would have dreamed of having. Even one of the 8 great powers would be envious to have such a chance. AI. My dear nephew truly is far too terrifying. He is a genius to become a saint ruler. Am I perhaps dreaming of this? Bai Dao muttered from the side of the king. When he last saw Jian Chen years ago, he had only just materialized his saint weapon before being chased out by the Huayan sect as a saint. It had been a relatively short time since then, but now this little saint had suddenly leapt upwards to become a saint ruler. This was what Bai Dao felt completely stunned about. News of the 4th master of the Changyang clan becoming a saint ruler quickly spread throughout the kingdom. Like a squall, this information passed by the ears and mouth of the citizens of the kingdom, leaving everyone speechless. Magical beasts capable of carrying information faster than humans flooded the skies in droves so as to send this information out of the kingdom as fast as they could. Soon enough, everyone in the Jessan kingdom and beyond were stunned by the news. Not too long afterwards, the king of the Jessan kingdom let out another proclamation proclaiming that today would be a national event to celebrate and be recorded in history to commemorate Jian Chen's ascension. The fact that the rainbow clouds meant that Jian Chen became a saint ruler spread rapidly throughout the area. The surrounding kingdoms near the Jessan kingdom heard of it, and each and every king that heard it was shocked as a result. One by one, they began to send out an envoy with a plentiful amount of gifts. These envoys were heaven saint masters and could therefore reach the Jessan kingdom even faster. Even the greater sects and clans within the surrounding area sent their most valuable representative with plenty of gifts to give. On this brisk day, everybody that was a somebody within the Jessan kingdom was gathered in Chongyang Manor. Even the two grand elders of the Huayun sect had arrived with gifts to celebrate this momentous occasion in Lore City. Today, the Chongyang Manor was completely cleaned and decorated with Chong Wuji personally receiving the guests. The most anticipated person of the day, Jian Chen, was not yet there to make an appearance in front of everyone. Then when the entire manor was at its liveliest with guests, Jian Chen, Bai Yuntian, Chongyang Ba, and the king of the Jessan kingdom gathered together. My dear relatives, my heir and son-in-law aren't by any means young anymore, and the engagement between them has gone on for some time already. In my opinion, we should find a good day to conduct the marriage ceremony. The king smiled as he spoke. Now that Jian Chen was a saint ruler, the king himself wanted nothing more but to have Jian Chen hold a great wedding with his daughter. Chongyang Ba and Bai Yuntian nodded as well with a smile since they too shared similar thoughts. Although they knew that their son was extremely superior, the two of them were very fond of Princess Yu. If it were her to be married to their own, the two parents found no objections to it. Xiang'er, you and Yuer are adults now. Don't you think it's time? Bai Yuntian prodded the question. She was extremely hopeful that Jian Chen would agree since she was very fond of the idea of having Yu and Jian Chen married. Xiang'er, you're already a saint ruler, and the flame mercenaries you're leading is already the dominant force in the area. Now that the ground beneath your feet is settled, you and Yuer should get married. Don't you think it's time to tie the knot? Chongyang Ba smiled kindly. Inwardly, Jian Chen let out a small grumble. With a slight sigh, he spoke, Father, Mother, and Your Majesty. With my eldest brother not yet having his limbs healed and the whereabouts of my second sister unknown, now would not be a good time to conduct the marriage ceremony. Jian Chen knew that this marriage was already something he couldn't change, but he didn't wish to settle down just yet. He wanted to prolong it for some time still. When the king heard Jian Chen's answer, he let out a helpless sigh. He knew that from this response, the marriage between his daughter and Jian Chen would be stalled indefinitely. Jian Chen's response made sense. His eldest brother was without his limbs, and his second sister was completely lost to them. Without the entire family being there, a marriage would be unwise to have. And so talks of marriage had been stopped there. Jian Chen continued to talk with the king of the Jessan kingdom and his parents for some time before Jian Chen returned to his own room and closed himself off for the time being. Now that he was alone in his room, Jian Chen sat on top of his bed and took out the blank scrolls and the 3 pieces of beast fur to study. Ever since he became a saint ruler, the mysteries of the world were no longer a mystery now that he could use the power as he wished. With this elevation in power, the mystery that was hidden within the scroll could now be faintly sensed. It's no wonder this scroll could evolve the mysteries of the world. The mysteries of the world that were branded in here was done by a divinely being almost. I can sense that the power in here is extremely faint though. Could it be that after it's used once, the seal that keeps the mysterious power in here loses its effect until all of it is gone? Then using this scroll once would turn it back into a regular scroll. But these 3 beast furs still remain a mystery. Jian Chen muttered. He understood the nature of the scrolls now, but the 3 beast furs were still a complete enigma to him. Despite him being a saint ruler, the 3 beast furs still felt the same as any other magical beast fur. Even the fact that the mysteries of the world was hidden within the beast furs would go unnoticed if he didn't know about it beforehand. These 3 beast furs are complicated in nature, there's a definite secret hidden in here. But what exactly is that secret? Even as a saint ruler, I cannot tell. Jian Chen asked himself with great curiosity. Chapter 678, The Qinhuang Kingdom in shock. Today, Chongyang took the initiative to seek out Jian Chen and apologize to him. It was in his hope that he could erase the unpleasantness that once happened between them before, but Jian Chen felt rather relieved to hear this apology nonetheless. Afterwards, Jian Chen spent the next 3 days in Changyang Manor. The only times he had stepped out from the manor was when he went to visit Kendall's wife and son, Sans. The plight Sans was in had motivated Jian Chen's desire to become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master as soon as possible. This was because he came to learn of a way to help Sans cultivate again after his Saint weapon was destroyed. All he had to do was to become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, since only they could help a cripple regain the ability to cultivate. Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters held an extraordinary powerful ability in their ability to heal. It was said that they could revive even the dead, and as long as the Class 7 Radiant Saint Master was strong enough. Therefore, treating a person who had their Saint weapon destroyed was therefore no problem at all. After the 3rd day, a large group of people could be seen standing around in the main courtyards of Changyang Manor. Even the king was there. One by one, they surrounded Jian Chen with eyes of reluctance. Today was the day that Jian Chen would be leaving, but everyone was unwilling to bid farewell to him just yet. Xianger, you've worked so hard recently. When you finish all that you need to do, you must come back home and stay even longer next time. Bai Yuntian urged her son with a great deal of reluctance. Xianger, you could let your subordinates deal with the smaller matters. There's no need to work so hard yourself. Changyang Ba spoke. Xiangtian, the elders of the Changyang clan and the king of the Jessen kingdom began to give their own well-meaning opinions and advice to him. As it were, it seemed as if they were extremely concerned for Jian Chen as well. While Jian Chen was a saint ruler, he did not grow arrogant because of it. He still treated his seniors with respect and listened dutifully to their words with a nod of his head whenever they said something. It was at this moment Yu Fengyan came forward to grab at Jian Chen's hands. Pleading with him, she spoke, Xianger, there hasn't been any news or correspondence with your second sister up to now. We know nothing about her whereabouts. With your strength, Xianger, your second aunt hopes that you'll be able to spend some time looking for her. She's the only daughter your second aunt has. Jian Chen's face grew grim. Looking to his second aunt, he promised, Second aunt, you can rest assured. I'll do my best to find the whereabouts of second sister. Jian Chen felt very worried when it came to the disappearance of his second sister. When he was young, the only other person that cared for him besides his mother was Changyang Mingyue. Her concern for him had even exceeded his own father. Xianger, I can feel at ease now. I can only hope that my silly Mingyue will come back home safe and sound by my side. Yu Fengyan spoke. Her complexion was rather unwell due to the pain she felt in her heart. She was already prepared for the worst to happen, the only thing she needed now was the evidence. After bidding farewell to the people in the Changyang Manor, he left together with his grandfather Bai Hai. After all, he had only returned this time to confirm his grandfather's identity. There were still many things that needed to be dealt with for the flame mercenaries, so Jian Chen really could not stay for too long. Jian Chen originally wanted Bai Hai to stay in the Changyang Manor. However, Bai Hai had already gotten used to spending his time peacefully in the past few years, so he really was not used to the noisy environment of Changyang Manor. This was why he went with Jian Chen to the flame mercenaries. Also, there were a few other saint rulers there, so if he ever became bored, at least he still had some people to talk to. Jian Chen and Bai Hai traveled together, using spatial force to soar through the high sky. They traveled quickly towards where the flame mercenaries were. In the royal palace of the Qinhuang kingdom, the king currently sat casually on the throne. Before him stood a young man clad in silver armor. Wujian, didn't you stay in Jessen kingdom? Why did you come back? Looking at how exhausted you are, it should be travel fatigue. Perhaps something major happened in Jessen kingdom? The king of Qinhuang kingdom said amiably and with a smile. Your Majesty, Wujian really does have something extremely important to report to this time. A few days ago, Imperial Protector Jian Chen has already successfully broken through to Saint Ruler from a Heaven Saint Master. On the tired face of the young man, there was a slight smile. It was obvious that he was filled with joy. What, Jian Chen has already successfully become a Saint Ruler? The king suddenly stood up, and stared at the young man in disbelief. Yes, Your Majesty, Imperial Protector has really become a Saint Ruler. He was also accompanied by rainbow clouds which blot out the sky within a 50,000-kilometer radius. He's caused a great shock wave in that area. Speaking up to there, the young man paused slightly before continuing. In addition, the Imperial Protector's grandfather has suddenly appeared, who is also a powerful Saint Ruler. The king did not really care about the sudden appearance of Jian Chen's grandfather. At this moment, he was deeply shocked by the news of Jian Chen becoming a Saint Ruler. How is this possible? Jian Chen has actually already become a Saint Ruler. Unbelievable. Just look at how old he is right now. The king mumbled with a distracted expression. Although he seemed calm, great waves currently rippled through his heart. Before, the news that Jian Chen was already a Heaven Saint Master before the age of 50 had already caused him enough shock. Now, only after a few years, he had already improved from a Heaven Saint Master to a Saint Ruler. With such an improvement speed, it really would cause people to be terrified. I'll immediately go report it to the 4 honorable Imperial Protectors. The king did not dare to delay this in the slightest and immediately left, hurrying towards the Qin Heaven Palace. Not long after the king had left, another burly middle-aged man in golden armor walked in from outside. So it's the head of the royal palace guards, Audro. Perhaps there is something that needs to be reported to the king for you to come here? Seeing the middle-aged man, Qin Wujian revealed a smile of familiarity. Qin Wujian, so it's you. Didn't you go to the Jizam Kingdom with the Imperial Protector? Perhaps you 3 have all come back from there. Audro and Qin Wujian clearly had a good relationship. He spoke with some surprise. Qin Wujian shook his head and said, "That's not true. I returned this time because I have some important news to report to His Majesty. I won't be staying too long in the Imperial Palace. What about you, Audro? Perhaps you have important news to report?" If I recall correctly, the position as the head of the Imperial Palace Guards is a very simple and easy job, since it's already been several centuries since something last happened in the palace. Audro's expression slowly grew more solemn and said, "Correct. For the past centuries in the Imperial Palace, it indeed has been safe. But it's different now. Recently, I have constantly received reports from my subordinates that there are actually people who go missing for no reason in our Imperial Palace, such as palace maids, eunuchs, and even several dozen guards who work under me, including a captain with the strength of a Earth Saint Master. They disappeared as if they were water evaporating away. With my strength, no matter how I investigate, I can't find their whereabouts. Don't you think this is weird?" "What, there's actually been something this weird happening?" Qin Wujian muttered to himself with his eyebrows slightly raised out of shock. Afterwards, he said, "It's not hard to explain why things like this have been occurring, that is if they occurred in smaller kingdoms. But for it to actually occur in the heavily guarded Imperial Palace of our Qinhuang Kingdom, it's rather astounding. After all, there are the 4 Imperial Protectors overseeing the Imperial Palace. Even the slightest movements would not escape from the 4 of them. Yeah, I also feel it's weird. I've looked into this matter for several days already, but I haven't found anything. This is why I can only report it to His Majesty. Unfortunately, you came a little late. His Majesty has just proceeded towards the Qin Heaven Palace. Audro, you'll have to wait a little." In the Grand Qin Heaven Palace of the Royal Palace, the 4 most respected Imperial Protectors gathered together. They sat around a large square table, and not far away, the king stood obediently. He did not carry the imposing awe he normally possessed, and maintained a respectful expression. "Are you serious, has Jianchen really broken through to a saint ruler? An imperial protector opened his mouth to ask. His expression was solemn, and he clearly cared about this very much. The king replied respectfully, replying to imperial protector, "This is the news brought back by Qin Wujian, who has been stationed to Jessen Kingdom. He is completely certain that Jianchen is already a saint ruler." Also, at that time, rainbow clouds had even appeared, blotting the skies of a 50,000-kilometer radius. Since the rainbow clouds have appeared, a saint ruler has definitely been born. Looks like Jianchen really has become a saint ruler. An imperial protector said. But just how old is he right now? Just a few years ago, he participated in the gathering of the mercenaries in Mercenary City, so just how did he become a saint ruler so quickly? This is just insane. He's not even 50. Actually climbing to the realm of saint rulers with such a young age. This indeed is unbelievable. Now that Jianchen has already become a saint ruler, do you think we should tell him this? With his support, our Qinhuang kingdom should increase quite a lot in strength. Last time Jianchen returned, there also seemed to be another powerful saint ruler and a class 7 magical beast who followed him. This is a strength that we must value. In my opinion, we indeed should tell this to Jianchen. Perhaps, we will gain 3 extra saint rulers today because of this. Chapter 679, Wiping Out the Hongfu Clan, 1, Yes. If we have 3 saint rulers join us, our power will increase a lot. We just don't know what relationship Jianchen exactly has with the 2, and whether he can pull them towards our Qinhuang kingdom. Perhaps they are unwilling to interfere in this matter. Listening to the conversation between the 4 imperial protectors, the king hesitated slightly. He then spoke carefully, "For imperial protectors, I have heard that Jianchen has connections with the higher levels of authority in Mercenary City. Perhaps we should speak with Jianchen, and see if we can borrow his connection with them to get Mercenary City to help us. As soon as they stand to our side, I believe the problem that we are about to face will cease to exist, and those above us will also view us with a new light." The 4 imperial protectors shook their heads simultaneously and turned down the king's suggestion without any second thought. One of the imperial protectors said, "I don't really understand Mercenary City. The connection that Jianchen has with the authority of Mercenary City is just a rumor and does not seem to be true. Also, even if Jianchen really does have a connection with them, Mercenary City will definitely not help us." Yes. In the eyes of normal mercenaries, perhaps it is just a city, just a place where mercenaries gather. However, in reality, Mercenary City plays a role of guarding the Tianyuan continent that not many people know of. They definitely won't intervene in any battles on the Tianyuan continent, much less help anyone rise in power. They will only formally intervene if a large-scale battle erupts on the continent, so our idea of requesting help from them definitely won't work. It's all the same, whether Jianchen has any connections at all with Mercenary City. An imperial protector said. Junior understands, and thanks the imperial protector's teachings. The king said with great respect and his hand clasped. Enough. Our conversation about Jianchen will stop here for now. After you go back, immediately order people to send a message to Jianchen, and ask him to come visit the Qinhuang Empire sometime. We can talk about this with him at that time. An imperial protector said. Yes, as soon as Junior goes back, Junior will order people to contact imperial protector Jianchen. Junior will first excuse himself. The king slowly withdrew. Sigh, who would have thought that Jianchen has already become a saint ruler? If he continues with his unbelievable speed, perhaps he'll only need a few centuries to reaching an even higher realm at most, becoming a saint king. After the king had left, an imperial protector could not help but give off a sigh of surprise again. His talent really is unprecedented. Jianchen's future accomplishments will be so great that even we will not be able to imagine it. Perhaps, he will directly catch up to the unrivaled Mo Tianyun. I even suspect Jian Chen might be a reincarnation of Mo Tianyun. If he matures successfully, he will definitely become a venerated saint emperor. It's already been such a long time since the Tian Yuan continent has produced a saint emperor. It's about time for one to appear. If Jian Chen becomes a saint emperor, our Qinhuang kingdom will also be benefited greatly. We can directly become an existence equal to the three great empires, or even surpass the three great empires. We need to properly foster our relationship with Jian Chen. If we don't start now, perhaps it will be too late. In the imperial city of Qinhuang Kingdom, in an inn less than 10 kilometers away from the imperial palace, a burly middle-aged man currently laid on a bed with his chest bare and eyes tightly closed. Suddenly, the middle-aged man snapped open his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, 2 rays of visible light shot out from his eyes. They pierced 2 finger-sized holes in the wooden ceiling. The middle-aged man sat up without any prior warning and could not help but reveal a smile on his fierce-looking face. However, the smile was sinister. Jian Chen, I finally know where you've gone. So it turns out you've been hiding in a place called Jessen Kingdom, which was why it's been so difficult to find news about you. The middle-aged man slowly blurred, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the tightly shut room. Somewhere else in the imperial city, the bare-chested, middle-aged man walked into a rather large store. He threw a bag full of glittering purple coins onto the counter and said expressionlessly, "Immediately give me the most detailed map of Tian Yuan continent. Remember, I want the largest, the most detailed map." Seeing so many purple coins, the shopkeeper's eyes became green with greed. He hurriedly collected the bag full of purple coins and said, "Okay, okay. Customer, please wait. I will go and get the best map for you right now." Before he had even finished speaking, the shopkeeper turned to leave. Very quickly, he returned with a scroll as long as a man, and said with an enchanting smile, "Customer, this is our store's largest, clearest and most detailed map. It records the geography of half of the Tian Yuan continent." The man opened the long scroll as soon as he received it. The scroll was very large, and when completely unraveled, it was 5 meters long. On it were mountains and rivers, all very detailed. The man scanned across the map swiftly and forcefully with his gaze. After a while, he revealed a cold smile, before collecting the map and leaving. After several hours of travel, Jian Chen and Bai Hai finally returned to the Flame Mercenaries. Just when they approached the royal palace, Zhubis, Jiedatai, Huang Tianba and the other 3 sensed them, and were already floating high up in the air to welcome them. "Ha ha ha, Jian Chen, so the activity a few days ago was indeed caused by you. Who would have thought that after a few days of not seeing each other, you've already become a saint ruler? Back then when you were still a heaven saint master, it was already very hard for me to suppress you. Now that you've broken through, perhaps even I, the great Nubis, cannot be your opponent." Nubis found out that Jian Chen had already become a saint ruler with a glance, and immediately became happy for Jian Chen. Jiedatai, who stood beside Nubis, looked at Jian Chen with a complicated expression. He was very shocked. Although he had already predicted that Jian Chen had already become a saint ruler, he still felt great shock when he really thought about it. He was someone who knew very well that only a few years ago, Jian Chen was still a weak earth saint master. Only so much time had passed from then, and Jian Chen had actually overcome the difficulties along the way from an earth saint master, breaking through to a saint ruler with devastating speed. It was just too unbelievable. Ha ha ha, who would have thought that little brother Jian Chen has indeed become a saint ruler? Congratulations. I believe in not too long in the future, little brother Jian Chen will become a saint emperor that even I can only dream of. Huang Tianba laughed aloud. He was extremely happy. Chapter 680, Wiping Out the Hongfu Clan, 2, Jian Chen said a few words to Huang Tianba, Nubis and Jie Tai before introducing Bai Hai to everyone. He did not try to cover up the fact that Bai Hai was his grandfather to the three. Huang Tianba and the other two already knew that Jian Chen had a connection to Bai Hai a few days ago, so when they heard the truth, they were not too surprised. They only constantly sighed, sighing how there just was nothing too strange in such a large world. Who would have thought that a few days ago, the two who were still enemies actually had such a close relationship? Ha ha ha, it'll be great now. In the future, everyone will be one of our own. Now that Brother Jian Chen's group is becoming more and more powerful, normal hermit clans will no longer pose a threat to the flame mercenaries. Huang Tianba laughed aloud, and seemed extremely happy. Hearing that, Jian Chen also revealed a smile on his face. With the current strength of the flame mercenaries, he clearly was also very happy. Let's talk after we go down. Jian Chen called out to the group, before landing on the ground at the same time. In a magnificently decorated room, Jian Chen, Bai Hai, Nubis, Jie Tai, Huang Tianba, Ming Dong, Huang Luan and others currently gathered there in a big group. The news of Jian Chen becoming a saint ruler had also been announced by Huang Tianba, so all of Jian Chen's friends knew about it. Brother, have you really become a saint ruler? Ming Dong was the first one who could not hold it back, so he asked. He was moved. Jian Chen did not deny it, and confirmed with a smile and a nod. After receiving confirmation, the crowd was first stunned, before falling into a great uproar. Whoa, fantastic! Brother, you are now a powerful hermit. You are just too awesome. Bai Lian's ecstatic face was flushed red. Beside her, the two girls, Huang Luan and Yu Yu were also excited, and looked at Jian Chen gently. This is just too unbelievable. It has only been so long since the previous gathering of mercenaries has finished, yet the current king of mercenaries is already a powerful saint ruler. It's unimaginable. Wang Yufeng carried a young steel-wing bird in his bosom, he could not help but sigh with surprise. Jian Chen, my gap with you is getting bigger and bigger. It looks like it'll be very difficult for me to catch up with you in this lifetime. Tai Ta looked at Jian Chen with a complicated expression and said with a pained smile. Thinking back when they were still in Kargath Academy, although his strength was not as great as Jian Chen, it was almost the same. However, only after a few years, Jian Chen had already become a saint ruler, reaching a great level where he had no hope of catching up. This also caused the simple and honest Tai Ta to be filled with disbelief. Jian Chen brought his hands together and said, "Enough. Everyone please quiet for a moment. I have something very important to announce. The person next to me is my grandfather, who is also a powerful saint ruler." These people were all Jian Chen's most trusted people, so to them, Jian Chen did not conceal the identity of Bai Hai. Instead, he made it known to everyone that there was an additional saint ruler on their side, which could instead increase morale. Hearing this, the people who did not have a great understanding of Jian Chen's background actually did not react too greatly, and only felt excited because of an additional saint ruler. However, Yu Yu knew Jian Chen's background and was instead filled with doubt. Excluding Jian Chen, she was the only person in the crowd that had a relative understanding to the people in the Changyang manor. She felt astonished by the fact that a saint ruler grandfather had suddenly appeared by Jian Chen's side. Suddenly, Yu Yu seemed to remember something. Her expression was full of surprise, and looked at Bai Hai with shock. She asked, "Perhaps this senior is the lost ancestor of the Changyang clan?" Jian Chen shook his head. Staring at Yu Yu, he said, I'll explain this to you later. Liener, come with me. Brother and grandfather have some things that we want to say to you in private. Yes. Bai Lian nodded her head obediently. At first, she glanced suspiciously at Bai Hai, who was in long, blue robes. Afterwards, under everyone's curious gaze, she followed behind Jian Chen into another room. Under Jian Chen's indication, Bai Hai also went with him. After the three entered the room, Jian Chen swung his hand, and a breeze closed the door. Afterwards, he turned around to look at Bai Hai and said, "Grandfather, this is my younger sister, Bai Lian. She is also a person of the Bai clan, with the blood of our Bai clan running in her veins. Currently, she is one of the few remaining members." After saying that, he turned around to speak to Bai Lian. "Liener, this is the patriarch of our Bai clan. Why don't you quickly call him grandfather?" "Grandfather." Bai Lian called out obediently. Meanwhile, her clear gaze, which was full of complicated emotions, examined Bai Hai. As for this grandfather, she had heard about the situation in detail from Bai Yuntian long ago, and already knew that he had been missing for several years. She just never thought it would actually be his older brother who would find him again. Bai Hai had a kind smile on his face, and Bai Lian's gaze became soft. He had once spent 30-odd years in a dark cave, passing the days all by himself. As a result, he now showed great concern and care for all his grandsons and granddaughters. Good, good, good. Who would have thought that I, Bai Hai, would have another great-granddaughter, who also happens to possess a great talent for cultivation that is even rarely seen in 1,000 years. Not bad at all, looks like the heavens is helping my Bai clan to flourish. Without much time, my Bai clan can regain its former glory." Bai Hai smiled without restraint. He was extremely excited. "Great-granddaughter, your brother has already become a saint ruler, so he doesn't need your grandfather's guidance anymore at all. As for you, you should follow your grandfather in the future. Your grandfather will personally guide you through your cultivation, and you will be able to avoid many long winding bends in the path of cultivation, which will save you from wasting your great talent," Bai Hai said to Bai Lian gently. However, what surprised Bai Hai was that Bai Lian actually denied his good intentions and said, "Grandfather, Liener wants to stay here to help brother do some things, to help brother bear the burden of the pressure. Liener does not want to leave. Liener, you don't need to worry about the matters of the flame mercenaries too much. You mustn't let these miscellaneous things interfere with your cultivation. Only cultivation is the most important, because on the Tian Yuan continent, only strength can represent everything. You should give the responsibilities to other people. You don't need to toil about yourself." Jian Chen persuaded. Bai Lian resolutely shook her head, and looked at Jian Chen imploringly. She said, "Brother, Liener extremely likes to do these things. You should just let Liener do it. Please don't turn away Liener. Liener and sister you will manage the flame mercenaries very well together. Also, Liener will ensure you that it definitely will not interfere with cultivation." Seeing Bai Lian's pleadings, Jian Chen temporarily did not know just what to choose. He just loved his sister too much, and really did not want to force her to do something she was unwilling to do. He could only secretly sigh. Whatever, since great-granddaughter is so determined, grandfather will not force you. In the future, grandfather will just stay here and will guide great-granddaughter when she has the time. Bai Hai did not force Bai Lian in the end. The situation was now different from before. Before, he had several grandchildren under him, and did not need to purposely care for anybody. However now, he currently only had 4 grandchildren, so he needed to increase his care, completely changing his unconcerned nature from before. After the 3 had finished speaking, they left the room. Afterwards, he chatted a little with the people outside. As he conversed with them, Huang Tianba walked to Jian Chen and said, "Brother Jian Chen, I have some things that I wish you can help me with." Jian Chen chuckled and said, "Senior Huang does not need to be polite. If Senior has anything that requires Jian Chen, feel free to mention it. Jian Chen will definitely provide assistance." Huang Tianba's smile had already completely disappeared. He looked at Jian Chen solemnly and said, "I wonder if brother Jian Chen still remembers about the Hongfu clan I mentioned before." Jian Chen felt a tug of interest, and could vaguely guess what Huang Tianba was suggesting. He said, "Of course. The Hongfu clan is the nemesis clan of the Huang family, with the enmity reaching a level that can no longer be resolved. If Jian Chen guesses correctly, Senior Huang should be wanting to move against the Hongfu clan. Huang Tianba did not deny it and said, "Correct. Our Huang family and the Hongfu clan have always caused trouble to one another, and have always wanted to end each other. However, the strength of our two groups have always been extremely close, with neither of us able to suppress the other. Even if we fought it out, the outcome would be both sides suffering defeats, with us ourselves suffering the most losses in the end. As a result, the hatred between the two groups has always continued up to now, unable to be resolved. However, this time, I wish that brother Jian Chen can work with me and obliterate the Hongfu clan. That would save troubles from undue delays, just in case any unforeseen changes happen." Jian Chen could not help but remember the ruler armament wielded by the saint ruler of the Hongfu clan from before. He could not help but reveal a smile, and he said, "Senior Huang's business is also my business." Also, the Hongfu clan played a part in regards to what happened with the tungsten alloy mine, so speaking of which, they are also enemies of me. Senior Huang, you do not need to worry, Jian Chen will definitely help you end the Hongfu clan. If it's like that, it'll be fabulous. With brother Jian Chen's help, the Hongfu clan will no longer possess the power to fight against our Huang family. Huang Tianba laughed aloud. Jian Chen hesitated slightly and then said, "Senior Huang, it's just that Junior has a bold request. Junior wishes for Senior to permit it." "Huh, brother Jian Chen, you don't need to worry at all. Go ahead and say it." Huang Tianba said straightforwardly. "I recall that the Hongfu clan has two ruler armaments, with one of them being a sword. I am interested in this sword, so Junior wishes that after what we do, Senior Huang can give the ruler armament to me." Jian Chen said. No problem at all. As long as the two saint rulers of the Hongfu clan fall, I wouldn't want any of the two ruler armaments. They can all go to brother Jian Chen. Huang Tianba said extremely generously. Although ruler armaments were very valuable, having many was not necessarily good. This was because for every ruler armament, an additional amount of power was needed to guard it. One was already enough for the Huang family. Chapter 681, Wiping Out the Hongfu Clan. 3. Senior, I'll entirely listen to you as to how we handle the Hongfu clan. I just wonder when we will move against the Hongfu clan. Jian Chen said. Huang Tianba paused for a little while before saying, "Every day the Hongfu clan exists is another day where my Huang family will not be at ease. Brother Jian Chen, in my opinion, it's better if we handle it sooner. I just worry that if we drag it out for too long, unexpected changes might happen. Since it's like that, we should just act now. With our current strength, handling the Hongfu clan is a piece of cake, and it won't take up much time at all." Jian Chen said. He seemed to be even more anxious than Huang Tianba. Huang Tianba revealed an overjoyed expression, and nodded several times. "It's best like that. We should get going." Jian Chen turned around and looked at the crowd. He called out, "Newbies, Jiedatai, come over here." Jiedatai and newbies glanced at Jian Chen suspiciously, and then walked over doubtfully. "How many times have I told you, call me the great newbies? Just why don't you listen? Whatever, who told you to have such abnormal talent? I, the great newbies, am magnanimous, so I won't bicker over these small things with a brat like you. Speak, just what have you called the great newbies over for?" Arriving before Jian Chen, Newbies curled his lip and said unhappily. After hearing what Newbies had said, Jian Chen and Huang Tianba could not help but laugh out involuntarily. Newbies just regarded the word great with too great of an importance. "Newbies, weren't you unhappy that you could not enjoy yourself to the fullest with the fight a few days ago? Come with us in a while, there'll soon be another battle to fight." Jian Chen said. Newbies was a magical beast. Even though he was in human form and that he seemed completely just like a human, his love for battle that flowed in his veins could not be changed no matter what. The moment he heard there would be another fight, he could not control himself and immediately became overjoyed. He said excitedly, "Your human world is just too marvelous. I once stayed in the Cross Mountains, and would only meet an opponent after hundreds of years. Ever since I followed you into the human world, there's been fights practically every day. Only now have I, the great newbies, realized how smart of a choice it was to follow you into the world of humans." Speaking up to there, newbies seemed to have realized something. His expression changed slightly, and said to Jian Chen, "You youngster, the great newbies, must warn you beforehand that you definitely cannot find those abnormally powerful opponents for me. I can forcefully handle saint rulers of the 6th heavenly layer. If the opponent's strength is in the 7th heavenly layer or has exceeded that, you can't blame me for ditching you and running off all by myself. Fighting against such strong opponents is just suicide. There's no chance in winning. Even with a ruler armament, it's impossible." Speaking to the end, newbies glanced at Huang Tianba, intentionally or otherwise. Huang Tianba chuckled, "Newbies, the great newbies, your worry is completely unnecessary. This time, our opponents will not be too strong. The two will only have strength of the 3rd heavenly layer. It's just that we need to pay attention to the fact that they have 2 ruler armaments." "What? The 2 both have ruler armaments?" Newbie stared blankly slightly, and then unwarily spat out, "Are they the 2 old men who escaped a few days ago?" "Correct, it's the 2 of them," Huang Tianba said. Newbies revealed a soft smile and said, "Then no problem. With their strength, I can even handle 3 at once. However, they have ruler armaments. The strength of those things cannot be ignored and cannot be casually hit by one of them. I'll be responsible for keeping one busy. You 2 can handle the other one." "Great. If we want to kill the other one, it'll be extremely easy if brother Jian Chen and I work together." Huang Tianba seemed very happy. The unresolved hatred of the Huang family for the Hongfu clan was finally going to disappear. Not only could the Huang family lead lives of no worry in the future, it would also relieve a great burden from the old man who held the highest status in the Huang family. "Newbies, you come with Senior Huang and me this time. Jie Tai, you can stay here to keep watch." Jian Chen quickly allocated the positions of his subordinates. He did not get Jie Tai to go along because it was completely unnecessary. Also, against an opponent with a ruler armament, if Jie Tai fought, he would just be more of a hindrance than help, unable to use his strength to the fullest. Afterwards, Jian Chan bid farewell to the group of people, and left together with Huang Tianba and newbies. They directly headed towards the Hongfu clan. Several thousand kilometers away from the flame mercenaries, there was a magical beast forest that took up an area of several thousand square kilometers. Even though the magical beast forest was on the Tianyuan continent, it was a medium-sized magical beast forest, not only because there were many magical beasts, but also because there were many Class 5 magical beasts. According to rumors, in the deepest parts of the magical forest, there were even Class 6 magical beasts, akin to human Saint Heaven Masters. There were many countries of different sizes surrounding the forest. Every day, there would be large numbers of mercenaries who would enter the outskirts of the first to kill some low-class magical beasts to support their families. Of course, there were also some Earth Saint Master who brag about their strength and enter the depths of the forest in attempt to hunt a Class 5 magical beast. However, without any exception whatsoever, all the Earth Saint Masters would enter unharmed and leave heavily injured. There was actually no one who had succeeded in killing a Class 5 magical beast. As for powerful Heaven Saint Masters, there were some people who had once worked together in attempt to hunt a Class 6 magical beast. However, they all returned not long after. After that, no one ever entered the deeper parts of the magical beast forest, nor would they ever mention what was inside. This was because in the deepest parts of the magical beast forest concealed a secret, mysterious clan. The strength of this mysterious clan had once caused all the Heaven Saint Masters heading into the deepest parts of the magical beast forest to pale, because the clan possessed a strength so great that it could completely, and easily, wipe out several of the surrounding countries, even though it had so few people. In the deepest parts of the magical beast forest, there was a manor completely built out of white marble. At this moment, 3 people gathered together in a completely sealed, secret room of the manor. In-law, this time, our Hongfu clan has met an unprecedented feeling of danger. You must help our Hongfu clan survive through this threat. After it, I am willing to give the dragon-slaying sword to your Yen family. An elderly man in long, white robes requested while he sat before a middle-aged man. Chapter 682, The Yen Family Lord. After hearing what the white-robed old man had said, a sliver of interest flashed across the middle-aged man's eyes. However, he quickly concealed it and said helplessly, Jin Tian, Jin Feng, this time, I can only apologize. Jian Chen actually has the great elder of Mercenary City supporting him from behind, and even the 2 ancient clans aren't his opponents, let alone my small Yen family. Please forgive me for being incapable of action. The middle-aged man was the Yen family lord, and also the only saint ruler of the Yen family. His strength had already reached the peak of the 4th heavenly layer, and was stronger than either one of the saint rulers from the Hongfu clan. In-law, regarding Jian Chen, you do not need to worry at all. Although I don't know what relationship Jian Chen has with Huang Tianba, but other than offending Jian Chen because of the tungsten alloy mine, we have no other animosity. I believe that just by this, it is not enough for Jian Chen to antagonize my Hongfu clan enmity. As long as the 2 of us personally visit him and apologize sometime, it should be able to clear off any enmity created a few days ago, transforming our hostility into friendship. What really makes my Hongfu clan worried is Huang Tianba. The hatred between the Huang family and my Hongfu clan was formed by people of the previous generation. Although we 2 groups have not had any large-scale clashes in the recent years, we still have constant small conflicts in secret. Both sides have suffered losses, so as a result, the hatred between us has become very deep, which cannot be resolved peacefully at all. This time, if in-law helps me wipe out the Huang family, I will gift my dragon-slaying sword to you. The saint ruler of the Hongfu clan, Jin Tian, said. As soon as he finished speaking, a meter-long sword with a width of 2 fingers appeared in his hand. The entire sword was covered in a layer of hazy, glimmering light, and a blurry image of the sword could be vaguely seen through the layer. The entire sword was veined, and if it was looked at closely, the veins actually hegemonic, flying black dragon. The Yen family lord's interest was indeed piqued. He hesitated for a while, but still declined in the end. He said, perhaps the matter is not as easy as you have thought. According to my investigations, a girl from the Huang family was originally engaged to the Huanggu clan, but afterwards, it was because of the appearance of Jian Chen that the Huang family personally cancelled it. As a result, I feel that Jian Chen and the Huang family's relationship is more complicated than you have imagined. My Yen family definitely cannot intervene in this. There is the great elder of Mercenary City supporting Jian Chen from behind, and he seems to also have some connections with the ancient Tianmu clan. Also, considering how terrifying his talent is, he is someone my Yen family cannot afford to offend. In-law, the 2 saint rulers of the Hongfu clan became worried. Just as Jin Feng attempted to persuade him, he was cut off by the Yen family lord. Jin Tian, Jin Feng, you should stop persuading me anymore. I know very well as to how much my Yen family can do. The relationship between Jian Chen and the Huang family is complicated, and they may even have treated you as a common enemy. My Yen family definitely cannot intervene. Today, I have come personally to visit because I have something very important to tell the 2 of you. The engagement between our 2 families is cancelled. From today onwards, our two families will go their separate way. Matters regarding your Hongfu clan have nothing to do with my Yan family anymore. The Yan family lord said. The expressions of the two Hongfu clan saint rulers simultaneously became extremely ugly. They did not not only did they fail to pull the Yan family in to face an enemy, they had instead cut off their relationship with the Yan family. This was extremely unfavorable for the Hongfu clan. Yan Zhengnan, you came today to cancel the engagement? Jin Tian's expression was unpleasant. The Yan family lord sighed. He had an expression of helplessness and said quietly, I wish you can understand, my Yan family still needs to survive. Jin Tian, Jin Feng, why don't the two of you come out quickly? Today, the enmity between my Huang family and your Hongfu clan will reach an utter conclusion. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice pierced through various obstacles to clearly resound in the room. The sound wave was so strong that it had caused the entire secret room to slightly tremble. It's Huang Tianba, that old bastard's voice. He actually came knocking on our door personally. The expression of the two saint rulers became extremely unpleasant. The Hongfu clan and the Huang family had been locked in a stalemate for countless years, and during that time, neither of them dared to allow any large-scale conflicts to erupt. This was because the strength of the two groups were very similar, and once they began fighting, no one had confidence in absolute victory. However, today, Huang Tianba actually showed up on his own accord. Even without thinking, they knew he definitely brought foreign aid and was extremely confident. Looks like my visit today really was untimely. The Yan family lord said with some remorse, before immediately leaving the secret room. Outside the Hongfu clan manor, the originally peaceful manor immediately became bustling with noise after Huang Tianba's loud declaration. Over 1,000 Hongfu clan members gathered outside, with each one raising their head to look at the three people who floated high up in the air. They all talked about it, and many of them were filled with terror. They're people of the Huang family. They've come for revenge. The people of the Huang family have actually come, and called out the names of the two grand elders. They must be powerful saint rulers. Quick, go report it to clan lord, the ancestor of the Huang family has come himself. What use is there reporting it to the clan lord? Hurry up and get the two grand elders. Hurry up and give the orders, make the entire clan take guard. The Huang family wants to battle with our Hongfu clan. They definitely brought a lot of people. The comments made by the members of the Hongfu clan mixed with the command's several higher-ranking people, which caused the entire manor to fall into a hubbub. The groups of people in the manor moved about, with all the powerful members heading off in all directions, to prevent the invasion of a large number of troops. Closely afterwards, 3 people flew out from the back of the Hongfu clan manor. Their speed was extremely quick, so with only a flash, they had traversed several kilometers and appeared high up in the sky, opposite of Jian Chen, Nubis, and Huang Tianba. The 3 people were the 2 saint rulers of the Hongfu clan and the Yan family lord. However, when the 2 saint rulers from the Hongfu clan saw Jian Chen and the gold-clothed Nubis standing by Huang Tianba, their expressions became extremely ugly. Looks like my guess is correct. Jian Chen and the Huang family's relationship really isn't simple, and has basically reached a level where they treat the Hongfu clan as a common enemy. The Yan family mumbled inwardly. The simultaneous arrival of Jian Chen and Nubis with Huang Tianba had his guess. Huang Tianba swept his gaze coldly across the people before him, and said with a cold smile, Jin Tian, Jin Feng, you were right a few days ago. The grievances between our 2 families has gone on for too long, and it is about time to resolve it. Huang Tianba's gaze landed on the Yan family lord. Yan family lord, do you plan on fighting alongside with the Hongfu clan? Hearing what was said, the Yan family lord's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly moved away from the 2 saint rulers from the Hongfu clan, and smiled apologetically. Today, I purposely came to dissolve the engagement with the Hongfu clan, and do not want to battle alongside with the Hongfu clan. Huang Tianba, you must not misunderstand this. From today onwards, matters of the Hongfu clan no longer have anything to do with my Yen family. The Yen family lord already knew that the Hongfu clan was beyond salvation, so he put it harshly, directly severing his connection to the Hongfu clan. Brother Jianchen, a few days ago, I have offended you very much. I am aware of my mistake, and wish that Brother Jianchen can be the bigger person, and forgive the stupid things I have done in my ignorance. I will definitely bring generous gifts and personally visit to apologize in the future. The Yen family lord's tone was euphemistic and extremely sincere, completely foregoing his identity as the lord of a family. This was because in his heart, if he could erase Jianchen's discontent for the Yen family, he could even give up his position as the family lord. After all, Jianchen was someone he definitely could not offend. Seeing how sincere the Yen family lord was, Jianchen did not act pettily and said straightforwardly, as long as the Yen family lord does not interfere with the matters today, as well as guarantee that you will not treat us with hostility in the future, the small matters from a few days ago can be wiped off the slate. Hearing what Jianchen had said, the Yen family lord became overjoyed at the unexpected, good outcome. He laughed aloud. Good, for Brother Jianchen to be so frank, I feel admiration. I'm definitely making you a friend of mine. Brother Jianchen, my Yen family is situated on Mount Xuxi several tens of thousand kilometers away. If there is anything in the future that our Yen family can help with, feel free to ask. As long as my Yen family has the power, we will definitely not shy away from it, and help you with all of our ability. Chapter 683, Chasing to Kill the Yen family lord knew exactly how powerful Jianchen was, as well as the fact that his talent was currently unprecedented on the Tianyuan continent and his future prospects would be inconceivable. As a result, as soon as the chance appeared, he would immediately attempt to ingratiate himself with Jianchen, unwilling to miss any chances of developing a good relationship with Jianchen. The Yen family lord is too polite. In the future, if Jianchen has any areas that would require help, then I would have to trouble the Yen family. Jianchen looked at the Yen family lord with a smile and his hands clasped. He did not turn down the Yen family lord's attempt to curry favor, as after all, the Yen family was a hermit family that possessed a powerful saint ruler and could not be so easily ignored. If he maintained a relationship with those types of families, no matter if it was for him, the Chongyang clan or the Flame mercenaries, it was definitely a good thing. Ha ha ha, it's not troublesome at all. My Yen family is extremely willing to help Brother Jianchen handle matters within our ability. The Yen family laughed without restraint, seeming to be extremely happy. Brother Jianchen, I will not be delaying you any further. The Yen family just happens to have some small matters that require me to resolve, so I will be leaving first. In the future, if Brother Jianchen has the time, Brother Jianchen is welcome to come visit my Yen family as a guest. The Yen family lord did not stay for long, and left as soon as he said his farewells to Jianchen. The two saint rulers of the Hongfu clan watched the Yen family lord leave with gloomy expressions. When the Yen family lord severed his relationship with them at this crucial moment, it caused the two of them to be extremely mad, but they felt completely helpless. Jin Tian, Jin Feng, our two families have already been locked in constant strife for several thousand years. It should completely end today. Huang Tianba looked at the two saint rulers of the Hongfu clan with a cold smile, while in his hand, a golden longbow had already appeared. It was a ruler armament, the Solunar Bow. However, Jin Tian and Jin Feng did not pay any attention to Huang Tianba. One of them looked at Jianchen, regarding what had happened a few days ago with the tungsten alloy mine. The two of us indeed have gone overboard. We will sincerely apologize to you right here, so we wish that you will not interfere between matters of our Hongfu clan and the Huang family. As long as you and this dear friend stand down, the two of us will gift you a ruler armament. How you feel about this, Jianchen? Hearing what was said, the corner of Jian Chen's lips curled into a scornful cold smile. However, he did not say anything. Seeing how Jian Chen did not reply, a saint ruler of the Hongfu clan continued, "Jian Chen, if you feel unsatisfied about the offer, we can add an additional condition. In the future, my Hongfu clan will help you do 3 things under any conditions, as long as they fall under our ability. Does this satisfy you?" "Ha ha ha, Jin Tian, Jian Feng, what you've done just now really has broadened my horizons. Who would have thought you would actually have thoughts like this? However, I'd persuade you to give up on this. How can brother Jian Chen be roped into your side with just these cheap bargains?" Huang Tianba laughed. He looked at the 2 saint rulers, his gaze full of ridicule. "Senior Huang has put it well. The 2 of you should give up on this." Jian Chen conformed to what Huang Tianba had said. The expressions of the 2 saint rulers changed. "What if we gift 2 ruler armaments to you? We only need you, Jian Chen, and that brother to stand down and not interfere with what's happening between our Hongfu clan and the Huang family." This time, the 2 saint rulers did not hold back at all. They understood very well that if Jian Chen and newbies worked together with Huang Tianba, they had no chance of victory even with the ruler armaments. "Jin Tian, Jin Feng, quit rambling. When we kill the 2 of you, won't the 2 ruler armaments you possess end up in our hands anyway? Take this," Huang Tianba said with a cold smile, before directly drawing the longbow. A golden energy arrow quickly formed, before turning into a ray of golden light, shooting towards one of them like a bolt of lightning. The 2 saint rulers already knew that the arrows shot by the Solunar bow could not be dodged. Their reactions were not slow, drawing their ruler armaments at the same time. The 2 ruler armaments radiated with a dazzling light, and the aftershock from the great energy that flowed out from the ruler armaments caused the surrounding space to greatly distort. Closely afterwards, the 2 swung their ruler armaments simultaneously, shooting out 2 great streams of energy to block the incoming golden energy arrow. Bang! The golden energy arrow and the energy from the 2 ruler armaments clashed mid-air, giving off a great, deafening bang. The after-effects from gathering the great amounts of energy wreaked havoc everywhere. It were as if a violent gust of wind suddenly began to blow in the air, and between the 2 groups, the space had been shattered, creating a fist-sized black hole. However, it returned to as it was before with the blink of an eye. With every clashing of the powerful saint rulers, it contained the power capable of moving and destroying the earth. Every time they clashed, the powerful aftershocks created from the great energy would affect the manor below. The ground which the manor stood on immediately began to crack and fissure, with several buildings collapsing one after another. With the blink of an eye, the originally untouched manor had become a mess. Your distinguished self, the great newbies, their power is around the same, so keep any one of them busy. Brother Jian Chen, we should work together to kill one. Huang Tianba's tone seemed to carry some excitement. The 1,000-year-old enmity that always weighed on the Huang family's chest was about to be put to an end, so it moved him very much inside. Leave that person on the right for me to handle. Nubis clenched his fist, and in the next moment, there was only a flash of golden light. He disappeared from where he originally was, directly rushing at Jin Feng, who wielded a long spear. Senior Huang, use the ruler armament to keep him busy. I'll go over and handle him. Jian Chen said to Huang Tianba, before rushing towards Jin Tian, who wielded a sword. Before, when he still had not become a saint ruler, he had the ability to match up with a saint ruler of the 4th heavenly layer. Now that he had already become a saint ruler, Jian Chen urgently wanted to try out his current strength. Brother Jian Chen, be careful of the ruler armament in his hands. You must not take it head-on. Huang Tianba was unable to stop him even if he wanted to, so he could only warn him. The 2 saint rulers of the Hongfu clan became extremely solemn. Glancing at the manor that had already fallen into an utter mess below, the 2 immediately seemed to had a tacit understanding. Turning into a flash, the 2 of them borrowed the spatial force to quickly flee far away. Want to run? Not that easy. Nubis sneered, and followed closely, using spatial force to chase Jin Feng. Jian Chen did not hesitate, and also used spatial force to closely chase after Jin Tian. However, Jin Tian had reached a greater level of comprehension, which meant that his level of understanding for the spatial force far exceeded Jian Chen's. As a result, he pulled ahead by several kilometers just in the blink of an eye. Huang Tianba stood where he was before, slowly drawing the longbow in a calm and composed fashion. He directly shot out an invisible energy arrow. The energy arrow was formed from the world energy. It was invisible and formless, completely undetectable to the naked eye. The arrow formed from world energy tightly locked onto Jin Tian's presence. It seemed to even possess the power to teleport through space. It chased after Jin Tian with an even greater speed, immediately traversing several dozen kilometers, arriving behind Jin Tian. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.